7 days ago, one of my satellites over Antarctica discovered a pyramid.
Oh my God. Whoever built this pyramid believed in ritual sacrifice.
What's going on?
Let's go!
They're not hunting us. We're in the middle of a war.
You're ugly! Son of a...
Bitch. Oh, what's up, man?
Oh, dude, I'm doing good. What about you, man?
Oh, I'm super stoked for this episode because I don't know if you've heard and if the crowd has heard, but we may or may not have one of my favorite all-time YouTubers on. Just a little guy. Apparently my mic is off. You know, it's not like I could see my sound waves going off. But apparently my Twitter apparently is getting a lot of people to watch over there. I hope those are legitimate and not some bots that are like spamming it. But oh man, this was actually one that wasn't originally on the schedule. And after
that's true.
After I talked with Mauler for a little while, we decided that this was the one he was going to make his debut on. And you know, it's speaking of which, we might as well bring him on. You know, as like I said, he's one of the best out there. I think that single-handedly or voicily, you know, he got me through COVID because I watched his Star Wars videos while I was stuck at home, not able to do anything without toilet paper. So, you know, but there's not really much I could say that hasn't, you know, that people don't already know about him. So I'm just going to bring him right in. That's Mr. Longman himself, Mauler.
Hello, everyone. This is on multiple platforms as well. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's
all over the world.
Yeah, I'm. It says that there are 700 people watching on my Twitter. I am definitely getting botted over there. That's no way that is legitimate. Like,
you never know.
It could be. I mean, it's making the number look good on our end.
You could have a lot of Twitter fans. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's going up by 10 every second. So, anyway, yeah,
Mauler, it's a pleasure to have you on, man.
Pleasure to be here, lads. Let's talk about one of the greatest films of all time.
Oh yes.
Honestly, it's really cool to have you for this, but it's really cool in general to have you here because one of the inspirations, pardon the pun against the title of the show, for the show is that is EFAP movies. It's kind of like a cross-sectional of EFAP movies and happy hour. And you know, so it's pretty cool. We've had Drinker on, which is the happy hour half, and now we're having Mauler. So it's a full circle.
Brilliant. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Alien versus Predator, which is, I don't know, Mauler, would you put it on the same category as, let's say, something like Van Helsing, for example?
Something like that, yeah. That feels like whatever genre that is, that's what they are. These crazy movies. Paul Thomas Anderson is famous for making those kinds of movies.
Yeah, I mean, like, most of the Resident Evil movies kind of suck, but are kind of cool in their own way. I think number one and
Resident
two,
Evil movies would be great if they weren't Resident Evil movies. If they were just, hey, watch my wife kill zombie movies, they would be awesome. But they're attached to the Resident Evil brand. That's the problem.
Dark Hour. It's watch my half naked wife. Dude,
yeah.
These Resident Evil movies. Okay.
But yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah, well, I guess we should all start. I guess we'll let Mauler start with the first time what we remember the first time for this movie.
Yeah.
Well, what year did this come out? Let's see. 2004. So I would have been 11, which would have been something of a peak of my thoroughly enjoying, you know, fiction, fantasy, and everything. And I think The Predator was like one of my favorite things of all time. And of course, I love The Alien as well. And then here we go. We have this film coming out, which I didn't have the context for. I don't know if you guys did, like knowing there was a big history for it in like the comics and everything.
I had a little bit of an understanding of that when I was a big comic fan when I was younger, but I didn't really venture into that side of comics as much until later in life. But I did know that they had faced each other in the comics.
Well, yeah, the fact that there was like a history for this beyond what I perceived, which was just, oh my god, for the first time since forever, they're putting them both on screen. It's amazing. And because I was so young, I didn't have as much of an understanding of the history, nor just the recognition of directors beyond the big ones. So, saying it's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, that didn't really mean much to me. I was just like, it's a film that I want to see. Woohoo! I'd be more concerned about like the actors, for example, and knowing Lance Henriksen was coming back I was just like, oh, sweet. Even though I think today, if I were me now when that had been announced back then, I'd be like,
Very skeptical.
Oh yeah. Well, I would have been nothing. I would have been disappointed finding out who the director was for this, beforehand. And I would have been skeptical about everything from every decision made. You played the trailer at the beginning of this stream, and you could even tell from the way it's shot, the editing, and just it feels like they've taken Alien and Predator and made them like pop sci-fi, where it's just they've lost all identity. But hey, I was a youngin', so I was just like, oh, let's go, and I did, and I remember just kind of loving it, honestly, at the time. But I still remember even then I had plenty of issues, and we'll go over them as we go through.
Oh yeah, and of course Norman Burritt says it clearly in the chat. Better than Romulus. Yes, I agree.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get into that. Look, the Paul W.S. Anderson thing. So at this point, he hadn't really become the lol cow that he would go on to be yet. he had done Mortal Kombat, which is to this day I still think probably the best true live action video game adaptation. Event Horizon, which I think we've briefly spoken about.
Event Horizon, man.
Soldier, which was pretty underrated movie, and the first Resident Evil, whereas like I said, it didn't feel like the fact that it was connected to the Resident Evil brand kind of made it annoying to me.
I think the first 3 Resident Evil movies are okay. Till Extinction, it's okay. After that,
the first one's definitely a solid movie. So weird. like this was kind of that was coming off of 4 straight movies that were mid-good to good. They weren't. There's no amazing, award-winning thing there, but
yeah.
But Uninspired, how about you? This was the first time you watched it, correct?
Yeah, I actually think this is the first time I ever watched it in full. Because growing up, I know that I had this on DVD, but my dad never wanted me to watch it because I would have been really, really young when this came out. And so I didn't watch it fully until last night. And then I had only watched it before as a kid, just a couple of scenes from afar whenever my parents would watch it. And that was pretty much it. And I kind of like it. I really enjoyed it for what it was. I do think the CGI holds up a ton. It looks fantastic. It looks better than what they tried to do in Alien Covenant for the CGI xenomorphs.
I agree with that 100%.
And yeah, man, even the practical effects were really, really good. The face huggers, I feel like the face huggers in this look better than the face huggers in Romulus, man. It's so weird.
Honestly, this might be the best looking face huggers they ever did. And they were used sparingly. So I just want to bring attention to Clint Lormond here. He streamed Freddy vs. Jason next. I will eventually get to that. I have to find the right people for that one. That has to be I want that one to be an argument. Like
I'm a huge fan of the Nightmare franchise.
But I would like to say that I really think that this is a direct result of the success of Freddy versus Jason, because even though that we could argue if that was
events, man.
Yeah, we could argue the actual quality of Freddy vs. Jason all day, but it was a commercial success because of the two properties and the fact that they had talked about it for so long. And this was the next logical thing because it came out about a year almost to the day later.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that leaves me for my first time watching it. So when I was, it was 2004, I was about 15 or 16 when it came out. And at the time I was playing a lot of competitive card games. I was a big competitive trading card game player, Magic the Gathering, and I played Yu-Gi-Oh! was the big hotness at the time. And this came out at the same time as the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie. So I had gone to get a ticket to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie to get the free ticket, to get the free card that came with it. And then I went into Alien vs. Predator. because they started within like 5 minutes of each other. So I only missed like the first few minutes of this. And I remember enjoying it a lot when I first saw it. Then as I got older, I wasn't sure how I felt about it because I was like, oh, maybe it was just like prisoner of the moment. But now in hindsight, after rewatching it, I'm like, no, this was, it was fairly solid. It was a, and the thing I thought of while I was watching it this last time, this would be a great movie as an introduction to for somebody if in some weird universe where someone saw the Predator movies but not the Alien movies or vice versa. This is a great movie to show that person and be like, well, this is the other side of the spectrum over here. Like that's actually almost kind of how it's set up.
It was the crossover event of the century, dude.
But yeah, it was like I'm saying, it was just more. It was really good for they don't go too deep into the lore, but they do go into it just enough to give you a taste of what you could have known going into it.
Yep, I agree, dude. I mean, I feel like there's a good expansion of lore in this one. There's a ton of stuff to like. That's what I think is what makes it hold up. There's a ton of stuff that you can enjoy, and there's a ton of stuff that you can overlook too, just because it's unique to this movie and it still stands the test of time. So yeah, I guess we can start getting into it.
Well, let's just do these two quick super chats first. We'll that way we got Zed for, I'm guessing. Oh yeah, it must be Czech. I don't know what the K stands. The Czech money. This is a check that hopefully don't bounce. It's sort of 50 of whatever the currency is. AvP, the guilty pleasure, shot in my small Czech country. Bad movie, looking way too good for the small budget. AvP is the worst use of the IP. Yes, by far.
That's true.
You want to take the next one?
Yeah, it actually looks really good for the budget. I mean, the budget is still fairly big. It's 70 million. That's what I found online.
Oh, and here's another one from Zed for 20 of his currency of the Czech currency. AvP started the fast alien life cycle too. I do agree with that, and it even varies in this movie. Like, there's one time where it happens in like 10 seconds, and another time it happens in like half the movie later. And we have one more from Melvin if you want to take that one.
One from Melvin deeply for £5. The Predators aren't the galaxy's greatest hunters on safari. They're a weird alien suicide cult and probably lesbians.
Sure.
Why not?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay, so let's dive into this bad boy, shall we?
Is AvP2 even worse than the Predator? Ooh.
That's actually a debate worth having.
That's the competition, yeah.
I think the Predator does more damage to the brand because it's like supposed to be more canon. Like the AvP movies are very clearly not canon.
Yeah, mostly everyone agrees they're like spin-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget about the next step in human evolution from the Predator. That's like incredible. So
Predator. People are loving the fact that I rolled my R's in my last Rings of Power video.
Nice. All right. Well, 20th Century Fox, ladies and gentlemen. R.I.P.
Which means I'm gonna have to fight this one right after we're done, might I add.
Yeah.
Every time we do a Fox movie, I have to fight it every time.
Now, so it is Antarctica in October 10th, 1904. And we're in the small Razorback Point whaling station. It eventually becomes an abandoned whaling station, and this is where we first see our Predator attack. So this is the first Predator attack of the movie, and I kind of like it, man. Let me play the clip, and we can talk about it. It's a nice way to introduce the title card, you know.
That Oh, go ahead, Mauler.
Well, so what strikes me, of course, is Paul W.S. Anderson. I'm going to be referencing that over and over again. It's so not subtle at all. It's like, we know why we're all here. You want to see an alien and a predator fight. They're both going to be here. Look, they're about to start the fight. Just hang on. I need to set the story up, okay? But that's there. Don't worry about it. Give me like 20 minutes, maybe 30.
And it falls into that MonsterVerse movie category where you're trying to do a movie about something, two beings that are gonna fight, but you have to revolve the story around humans because for some reason they think that they can't have these two beings hold the story on their own, maybe without dialogue. So it's kind of annoying where you have all these archaeologists hop into it, where we can just have a pure alien versus predator movie without any of the extra fluff.
Funny
Yeah,
thing.
I can agree with that. I don't think they'll ever do it, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
I suppose Predators we almost got there somewhat by it being on their world and lots of predators, but no, still no.
Yeah. Is that the one with the Adrian Brody and the samurai sword? Yeah.
Well, it's and who was it? Was it? Oh, I forget the guy, but yeah, Adrian Brody doing his like smoker's voice.
I'm a gruff main character, man. It's like, no, you're not. Stop it.
Oh man. And yeah, so we get a little glimpse of the Wayland Corp satellite. That's of course shaped to look like the Queen. Really great design, really good models.
Like that, yeah.
Honestly, that's a great shot because at first it really does look like it. I hadn't seen the movie in a while, and I was like, I don't remember the Queen being in the beginning. And then like as it turned, I was like, oh wait a minute, now I remember. So like,
to me personally, I would prefer we begin with that shot. To be honest with you, just because I'm always going to prefer the build up being more consistent with like what we can expect. Because that first scene, you were saying you liked it. I just find it to be a tad insecure, and it reminds me of that Predator opening scene, the original, which is like the only issue I have with the whole movie. I wish it wasn't there. I think everyone feels that way somewhat. It's like, damn it, it's such the movie works so well without it. You don't need it. The Thing has a similar sort of aspect to it, and I feel like it could be applied to this. Even though it is a different kind of tone and genre, this one of like we're getting into it. We're gonna be doing all kinds of fighting. It's not gonna be as subtle as those movies in any way.
That's true. And so it's October 3rd, 2004. This is the low Earth orbit Wayland Corporation satellite PS-12, and yeah, man. This Wayland-Yutani stuff, it's pretty interesting. Yes, the subtlety of Paul
W.S. Anderson. He's well known for his ability to be subtle.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. We could have an entire Mystery Gang discussion on Paul W.S. Anderson, man, because his career is pretty interesting overall.
His career, I feel like his career just took such a weird turn as soon as he met Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he was on a trajectory that was much different, and then all of a sudden he was like, "No, I got to make sure I get her into everything I've ever liked."
I mean, people point out it's a really great way to make money. Lead actress and director on a whole franchise.
I mean, and all of those movies still made money, even though most of them were trash. So
plus, I think he gets like screenwriting credit as well.
I mean, that's pretty easy. The screen, there's not much writing involved with those Resident Evil movies. It's like
just action sequence after action sequence, pretty much. And so right now we're at the Wayland Industries Tracking and Data Relay Satellite Receiving Station number 6D, and what they have is a heat signature in their station around Antarctica. And that's where we're going to go investigate. And to investigate that, we have to assemble a team. For that, the first person we have to go get is Lex Woods, which, I don't know, dude, the name Lex Woods, it sounds like you have to say it every time. You just have to say the name and surname. It's like...
It sounds like a porn star name,
it
but
does.
For a guy.
Yeah. It's so weird. And so
this comment 100% off-brand Rosario Dawson. 100%. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, they wanted Rosario Dawson.
Well, you just don't see this lady in like anything else. I was trying to think. I was like, what movies, what TV shows she even been in since or before this? I was like, I don't know.
I mean, I could look it up real quick. Hold on,
because I've legitimately never seen her anywhere else, dude. No joke.
She was
female like alien predator protagonist that just nobody remembers when they talk about that series as a whole. It's like, remember when she was the thing? It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I just went down her entire like. Yeah, I don't really know like most
It's
of the
like
movies.
they
Like,
try
some
to
of
do
them I've
like
heard
some-
of, but I haven't seen.
Mm.
She was in a lot of like one-offs and episodes of shows and stuff. I mean, she did pretty good considering.
Well, she was in Blade. I know that.
Oh yes, she was the mother in Blade. Yeah, that is
The
true.
mom.
But she was barely in that movie at all. Like, I mean, I think the mother in Blade has like what 3 scenes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, she's kind of like an off-brand Tomb Raider. That's what they're trying to do as well. But yeah, so the black man that you see standing before us is the same dude from the Resident Evil movies that gets lasered into bits.
Yeah, he gets
which,
the
of
same
course-
death in this and Resident Evil 1.
Yeah.
Man, Paul W.S. Anderson just really doesn't like this guy, but still keeps giving him a job. He's just like,
Which
look, I'm
is
going to
funny,
cut you in pieces.
Because I really like him. Whenever he pops up in anything, I love his voice and I love his presence, but he just never seemed to quite make it, you know? He was always...
Yeah,
he was
never
in
gets a leading role.
There was
Always
when I got the
there.
PSVR, the game that came with it was, I forget what it was called, but he's in that game. And I remember I was like playing it and I'm like, where do I know this guy from? Over and over and over again. And finally, like 5 days later, it hit me who he was. And I was like, oh, that's who it was. Yeah.
And so yeah, in this movie, his name is Maxwell Stafford, and he recruits for Wayland Yutani. And of course, now he's recruiting our porn star Lex Woods. And now we go to Mexico, to a place where I won't even try pronouncing because I'll fuck it up. Sorry.
Teotihuacan. There we go.
Damn.
I've never known how to pronounce that. It's
I can feel your Mexican blood, Dark Hour.
yes. I'm on my way to being deported right now.
And so we meet Sebastian and who I call the camera guy is the dude at the back. I forget his name. So yeah, Sebastian and the camera guy.
to me, he was just like nerd guy who, you know, like, he doesn't last long enough to get any consideration. Just like he's just the guy. Yeah,
he's discount Matthew Lillard, if anything. Like put
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard in glasses. You have, and that's who they wanted. Clearly, I'm just saying this whole movie is people that they got that looked like the people they actually wanted.
Yes, like the sci-fi version of a good movie. And so yeah, so they're trying to make an archaeological find, but of course, it's already been piled in the 1950s with the proof of Pepsi Cola, a Dark Hour. I think this is a direct shot at you from Paul W.S. Anderson.
Son of a bitch! I'm gonna drink extra Coke now just to piss him off. It's a running gag, Mauler. I hate Pepsi for a very weird reason, and I make it very evident. So
well, symbolically, this image could be the death of Pepsi. You know, it's gone.
Then I'm happy about it.
Pepsi.
I'd rather drink RC Cola.
And so this guy in the suit, Juan, he's fed up with Sebastian's findings, and so he decides to cut his funding. And this leads to Sebastian going back to his tent and meeting Stafford, who's over there waiting for him. Of course, ready to recruit him for the Antarctica expedition. Now we go to the Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica. Now, one thing I wanted to say about the prior scene with the architectural stuff, I like it, but man, I just feel like they could have done a bit more in terms of grandeur or scale. I do love the sets, but it reminds me of a movie like I don't know if you guys have ever seen the film Timeline from 2003 with Paul Walker.
No.
Oh, really? It's the Michael Crichton adaptation. It's actually pretty good.
I mean, I was about to say that this whole scene almost feels like it's like just taken right out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys should actually watch it, man. It's a really, really good movie with Gerard Butler as well. It's like they go to medieval France and they time travel there, and there's a ton of great actors too. You should check it out. But yeah, so Stafford recruits him for Wayland Yutani, and they're on their way there. And of course, we meet with Dr. Miller, who is, I think, his job is to carbon date.
He's an archaeologist. It's specifically, his whole thing is to tell you how old things are and like what era they're from, and
he does a little bit of the exposition here and there. But he's one of the biggest pieces of unused potential. I think the film almost gets somewhere with him, and then it doesn't do anything with him.
Yeah,
I do
brutally
feel like there was a
kills
lot of
them
stuff that was left on, not even the cutting room floor, like it was left in like the writing room floor.
Yeah, it almost felt like they set things up and then they just didn't follow through.
And I think that there's so the pacing of this movie is pretty solid in terms of getting to the point. Like you get really like it introduces all these characters really quickly. It tells you within the dialogue for the most part, or their actions, what they do. Which is something that's a lost art nowadays. Like the fact that this would make any modern. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just agreeing with you. Like the it's all very what's the word I would use for this? It's like, I'm trying not to be mean. This is going to sound mean, but it's all like very 4 out of 10-ish. A lot of these scenes, which is just okay, almost fine. It's like you have a scene, for example, the one we just had with the dig site. It's like, what did you learn then? It's like, well, I guess he really loves exploring and archaeology, and he's running out of the chance to do so, and so it's a perfect pick for Wayland. It's like, yeah, and it's like, could you have done more with that scene? It's like, yeah, you could have done a lot more, but they didn't. Like, okay,
Yeah,
and then,
it's almost like there should have been, and this happened with like pretty much every Alien movie. There was a director's cut that was a half hour longer. There's probably like a lot of stuff that was in the initial scripting phase that was inevitably like trimmed to just get to the point quicker, because they were like, we want to get this to people want to see the aliens and the predators. They don't want to hear about these people.
I don't think I mind too much, even if it's overt, right? For example, the screenshot's perfect here. This helicopter ride, what's the point of it? It's like, well, we established that Lex is pretty experienced, pretty in control, enjoys the adventure as well as the guy from the dig site does. But her thing is like, she wants to make sure things are safe and in control. And it's like, what do you learn about this guy? It's like, he has a family and he loves them. Yeah.
That's it. 2 kids.
And well, and that information about him gets repeated like 5 times. And it's just like, you want to do anything else with him? And then it feels like they're doing something else with him, which we'll get to, and then they don't.
Yep.
My favorite scene in the whole movie, in terms of like why was it even filmed, and we'll get to it eventually, is when they're both talking about like, oh, we both have kids, we got to survive, and they like immediately die.
That's kind of like, where I was going with that. Yeah.
Like, I had to go get a can of Coke because that Pepsi bottle cap just upset me so much.
But yeah, like on that note, it's just that felt like the butch, annoying, like, I don't fucking like anybody character, and then the friendly, naive, like, oh, I love my family, I'm messing around with some stuff, I'm just la la la. And I thought they were gonna put them together, and then it turns out the cowardly one inspires the gruff one to stop being scared by thinking of their families, and that they provide each other the strength they need or something,
Yeah.
But they both just died. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is, at least in this time, like in this story, so a lot of movies have this map compression problem, where it's like, how'd you get here from here to here and here to here so quickly? They basically have infinite resources to pull that off.
Yeah.
So it's one of the few times I really question somebody being able to get from like South America to like Scotland so quickly, because they probably have a private jet that flies extremely fast. So it's like, they don't have to necessarily explain it, but even if they ended up doing it, they have a reason in the story for it to make sense.
Yeah. So we also find out that Lex Woods is a environmental technician / guide, and so she's gonna be sort of overseeing the entire expedition, making sure everyone's safe. Which leads us to the icebreaker, Piper Maru, current heading classified. And on board is where we get the presentation by Wayland himself, played by Lance Henriksen.
I can't believe that this film does right here, in a sense, what Prometheus failed to do properly. It's kind of hits me in my heart and soul because of who we're comparing. But the people who directed it, the fact that they don't really know a lot about their mission before they get here, they make that very clear to them before they arrive, and there's reason for it. In Prometheus, they are traveling through the fucking galaxy, and they're like, we don't know why we're here when they arrive at the planet. And then some of them are so annoyed with the nature of the mission, they almost want to go home. And it's like, well, not really going to happen.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, here, they get to have, private helicopters back if they want.
Yep.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's written into the narrative as to why it's so. Oh well, you brought us here so quickly. We didn't hear. Like, why are we here? It's not just
Well, and it's also like he wants to get there first, and he wants it to be secret.
Exactly. So there's a reasoning built within. Like it's weird how we could take this movie and then compare it to something that came out, a decade later or so, or even more, and be like, how did it get so much worse? Like,
I can't explain Prometheus. I don't know what the fuck that film was.
Yeah, Prometheus was one of those incredibly stupid movies where you should have all just thought, yeah, Ridley Scott has kind of lost it.
Like when the movie that's clearly condensing down what's probably about a 45-minute intro into about 20 does a better job of setting everything up than the movie that ran excessively long. It's
Prometheus was the huge potential, and the thing is, it feels to me like Prometheus is one of the perfect movies that a lot of people who think themselves very smart are like, actually, Prometheus is amazing, and you didn't understand, and then they start reading out a bunch of things from the wiki, like the history of Alien, the eggs, and the idea of the engineers are created by something that they then create humans, they create aliens, and then we create androids that eventually create aliens, and there's a whole cycle of horrifying life. There's loads of things to draw out of it. It's just like, no, but the movie was really stupid. So stupid, in fact, that something like AvP is looked at by almost everybody as like a dumb person movie. Like, well, you only like this if you just want to see the two toys clash together. And I'm sitting here like, well, there's actually some clever stuff in here. There's things here and there about the script. I was like, oh, good job. That's a thing. And we'll highlight them, I suppose, as we go through. To me, it's funny because Prometheus it's like the college professor who went on a drunken rant naked and wobbled around and fell over. AvP is the retarded like cousin who nobody likes, and he actually like made a cool sandcastle. And you're like, oh. And everyone's like, well, the professor's a professor though. And it's like, yeah, but look at him. We need to.
It gets funnier the more I think about it. Because now they're in the same room. In my opinion, they're in the same room.
Inspired by the professor to make the castle. It all makes sense.
Oh man, this is another debate that's always worth having: is which is worse between Prometheus and Covenant. I've only seen Covenant once, so I almost feel like I have to go back and rewatch it to remember how.
I don't remember Covenant that much.
Rewatched them both recently, and I still don't know which I don't like more. I think I found more issues in Prometheus, but still.
Here we have a super chat that I think I'll let Mauler take this one.
Iceman for 10 euros says, just so Mauler can say my name on a stream. Well, you probably would have caught me saying Iceman if you got me to review a couple of the X-Men movies, I guess. Would it come up?
Thank you, Iceman. Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of glad that Lance Henriksen came back. I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I really like him, and it's a shame he didn't get better utilized. Obviously, Aliens, he's fucking great, and then I quite like him in here. I think all of his contributions, acting-wise, to this film are pretty solid, and if anything, another example of some wasted potential.
Yep, and I mean, just the fact that he came back too is great. Well, around what time was this in terms of the Alien franchise? What movie had just come out for Alien around this time?
I think Resurrection had.
Yeah, Resurrection was the last one.
A few years before this. So Resurrection was like 99, 2000, somewhere around there.
I don't know if we plan to do any kind of ranking or something, but
I mean, we can later on if we have a little extra time.
I was just going to say that as someone who watched Alien as a very
Resurrection
young kid,
was 97. Sorry, go ahead.
As someone who watched Alien when I was a little kid and was blown away by how amazing it was, and then Aliens blown away even further somehow, because that's what that experience is like. Then watching Alien 3 and being fucking depressed, and then watching Alien 4 and being confused. AvP is like, it almost feels like a reset of, listen, let's just try and see if we can get a normal story for once. And then you'll be like, this isn't normal. It's like, it kind of is, though. Structurally speaking, this film, the fact that we open on, they're going to fight, and then we get going on, let's collect our characters, we'll get some characteristics, we'll get our location, and then it's basically like there's a moment in the film where it just goes, okay, everyone kill each other, go.
Yep.
I find that kind of you know, more. I don't know if you guys have seen Resurrection recently, but this film is a little easier to follow.
Yeah, Resurrection. I remember because I was about 9 or 10 when it came out, and I was like watching it. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I've watched the other ones, and I don't even really get what's going on here. Like, why is there? And even as I get older, I'm like, what is the goals of what they're trying to do in this movie? Like, you have the queen that can give birth to live stuff. Like, why are you still trying to work with the Ripley clone? And it's like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Wasn't that was it Grima Wormtongue who wanted to keep her for something? He says like, I just want to keep her. I can't remember.
I'd have to go back and watch. I rewatched Alien recently. I watch Aliens all the time. Even Alien 3 I watched within like the last year or two, and I still think that the director's cut, special edition, whatever that one's called, is pretty good.
The amount of times I've seen Aliens might be criminal in some countries, but you know, I don't even care. Don't even care.
So this point in the movie, right now, their satellite discovered a heat bloom, and so they use some thermal mapping, and they find out that there is a pyramid under the ice in Antarctica, and so they want to go discover what's going on over there. And of course, it's kind of mysterious. There's in this scene, the reason why I took the screen grab is because there's the reference to Aliens, with the him tapping the pen in his hand as the
I have that in my notes, actually. I was hoping you would catch that.
Yeah, I thought it was it's a nice little touch, man. I like it.
Man, that's a throwback, that laptop right there. My first computer was a compact Presario. I remember that shit.
Jesus. Oh man. And so at this point, he also explains that there are elements of Egyptian, Aztec, and Cambodian architecture in the pyramid. And so they're kind of speculating on who created it or who built it. And especially, why is it in the middle of Antarctica? So, yeah. And
they justify it, too. They're like, well, there's a rumor that we heard that maybe years ago there was no ice on Antarctica. So that could make sense. It was like, what?
Weird throwaway line.
I wish sometimes they would just admit that they don't know. They'd just be like, you know what? I don't know what any of this means. Instead of being like, maybe, and then they say something absurd. And you're like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ancient aliens. Yeah, man, this is what you hear on the History Channel.
Well, what I wouldn't give for that guy, the aliens meme guy, to be in
this movie. Yeah, you have him on a TV, dude, making a cameo. We also find out that Wayland is kind of in a hurry, and he gives no time to Lex to train the team. So for that, she decides to quit. But she gets angry after she learns about her replacement, and of course gets convinced by Sebastian and what's his name, Dr. Graham, to reconsider.
I don't remember any of the characters' names in this one. If I was reviewing this, I would make up names for everybody. I can't remember.
It's nice that they're kind of setting up Wayland's sickness. The fact that he's kind of in a hurry to get everything done because he doesn't know when he's gonna die. It's like, I do wish that it's an element that they played into much more because he kind of just dies just like that. Like, I don't know.
One thing I will say about his dying in this is, unlike in Prometheus, where it's like, I want to be immortal. Like, here, there's like I want to do something great that doesn't just have to do with having this $1 billion company. Like, there's actually some substance to what he wants to do. It's not like
it's very boring in Prometheus. And to be honest with you, it's very like, oh, you think that's going to happen? You know, like, you think you're going to go to this planet, visit them, and find immortality? Really? And he's like, yeah, I hope so. Meanwhile, this, like, I've found something incredible. I'd like to stamp my name on it because I'm dying, and I want something to leave the world with. It's I buy it more, and I think it's crystallized pretty well by the dialogue he has later with Lex while he's in the little truck driller thing.
Gord King. Second movies should always add an S at the end of the title. Terminators, Princess Brides, Schindler's Lists. Yeah,
he wrote multiple lists. Oh my god!
So I don't know if anybody else, and I'm sure Mauler picked up on this, and Uninspired, I'm sure you did too, but I know for a fact Mauler did. They're supposed to be in very cold temperatures. Did you notice something that never happens in this movie once?
Well, there's a lot of things. What are you referencing?
You never see their breath once in any scene.
They're not ever like coming across as cold. There's one when the guy falls down the tunnel and gets up and he's covered in ice. Like that's what but that's an extreme, right? Like they never really convince you of this place at all.
Yeah, I mean, at the very end of the movie, she literally just takes off her coat and is like in like a thin.
They come across as though they're hot.
Yeah, Jurassic Parks. There you go.
That was another thing people picked up on for this was that there's not a huge amount of very, very strict rules from Alien and Predator that you need to make sure you hit. But one of them was the Predators love hot climates. And you put this in Antarctica. It's like, why did you do that? Like, okay. You're like, well, don't worry. There's a big heat generator down there, and it's hot down there. You're like, oh, okay, oh, sure.
Yeah, that was definitely something they thought of after the fact. You could tell.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess you can say that like maybe it's part of the Predator trials where they have to try and survive harsh conditions that are against them as well. Maybe you could try.
I get you on that, but I would simultaneously just be like, I think that just starts opening up more questions. Like, so then why don't they do that normally? Why do they go to hot places when they do their normal hunting? You're like, shut up. Eventually, the writer would just be like, let me have it. You're like, ugh.
The only other like justification I can come up with is that this is a specific tribe that does that, or there is also the thing that if that is true, their rumor there used to not be ice here, and this is where the thing was. They kind of have no choice. At this point.
I think you just have a. I mean, this film acknowledges. Does it acknowledge it's in the Predator and Alien continuity? I guess
no, I don't think it ever mentions anything.
Because Predator 2 acknowledges 1. So if this film decided, it could have said, I heard that that cringy fucking. It's like I said, 4 out of 10 shit where they just go, I heard a story. It was deep in a jungle where something a creature that described the same way. A guy fought it. And then another guy fought another one. It
was like really hot in LA one year.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why they're here when it's so cold. And then someone else just suggests that they're like, maybe it wasn't always cold. Maybe they like the cold now. Maybe the cold is a form of the challenge. Yeah, just throw it in. So
yeah, there's a lot of ways that you could do that. Like I said, it's probably I wouldn't be shocked if somebody in the writing room was like, we should do that, and then they were like, not enough time, move on.
That was. Do you remember? Someone just mentioned it in chat. Do you remember when the Predator references AvP of all things? Mm-hmm. I never understand when they make decisions like that. I'm always like,
I watched The Predator once, and I refused to ever watch it again. And other than like weaponized autism, I don't remember shit about that movie.
I fucking despised it. I was laughing my ass off in the cinema. To the point where I was worried I was starting to upset people because it was like my coping mechanism. I couldn't believe that Shane Black had made the worst Predator thing ever.
Yeah, Shane Black of all people. That's the worst part. That's where it stings,
Oh, you should know better, Shane Black. You were in the movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude. It's Shane Black,
that's his like revenge for being killed first and then strung up naked. That's his, he's like, I didn't like the way I was treated.
It's like, yeah, fucking let me kill the franchise.
I don't know if you guys remember, but he tried to make a thing of like each of the crew in the team all had some kind of mentally debilitating thing, be it like an ADHD or some kind of tick like Tourette's. He was like, I wanted everyone to have something because I think he has Tourette's in real life. But it was just like, what a weird goal. That's like something you needed.
That's like, that's like inclusivity thing that someone decided was a good idea right there. That's exactly what that is.
Well, so normally I would say, yeah, it absolutely comes across as something like that. But he said it's something he wanted. And then he got in trouble from like some people who'd watched it and been like, this is an insulting way to represent these. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, it's just a shit film. But like, yeah, sure, fair enough.
got a couple of supers for Mauler. Mauler's popular already. I mean, I kind of figured this would happen, but we'll start with our boy Zed. Can someone please tell me what the actual like currency of Czech Republic is, so I don't have to just say
krona, is it?
It might be. I know that Sweden uses krona, so let's call it. We'll call it
Czechoslovakian crumbs.
Yeah. Yes, it's 100 Czech krona. Molly, try isolation. It's really a love letter to the first Alien. The mechanics are cool, and the AI of enemies is way ahead of the current year. The Alien AI, it's pretty impressive. Love you, big heart. I'm assuming have you played Alien Isolation?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I played it when it came out for a handful of hours, and I was very impressed by the aesthetic, the atmosphere, and I was enjoying playing it. I can't remember why I stopped, and then I never went back. It's just one of those
loved
things.
Alien Isolation. The beginning is a bit choppy. I can understand if you didn't get after the first couple hours are a bit rough because it's teaching you there's so many mechanics of like this tool does this and this does this, and it gets a little
leaves you alone later on. So it's kind
when you get about 4 hours into the game, if you don't know what the tools do, it's hard to they don't really remind you. They don't hold your hand after a certain point.
It was the thing that Romulus should have been. They should have just adapted that into a movie. But that was never going to happen because that's just not how Hollywood do anything for some reason. There are so many video games that are waiting to be turned into films. They're ready to go. Dead Space is one I'll be fighting for forever. BioShock is another one. And the thing is, I know that if they were to be made, which I'm pretty sure there's rumors of all of them being made, it'll be awful. It's right there because they won't follow it. They won't bother. They won't try to recreate a bunch of stuff. They'll just make their own shit. They always bring someone in who's like, man, I want to make my own shit. And you're like, that's great. Maybe do it with your own shit.
Yeah, the first Dead Space I could see being a little bit more difficult to adapt, only because he doesn't talk at all really in that one.
I mean, the remake, right?
Still do it, you know.
Well, I didn't play the remake yet. I only played the original.
In the remake, they've made it so he fully talks, and it doesn't damage like the experience of. You'd think maybe it makes you feel more alone when he doesn't talk, but I think that it was more than maintained. The main thing to adapt, as far as I'm concerned, is just him solving the problems, and then you can easily just have him on call with the other characters and stuff. You know, we were just saying about how you set a whole movie with the monsters on the monsters planet and stuff. I want to see a movie where the main character barely talks. How about that? How about we do that? Wouldn't that be crazy? Maybe it'll work.
Basically like Castaway with a Predator movie. Is what you're saying?
Well, not necessarily Predator. I was just saying for Dead Space, even if we adapted that, he didn't talk a lot, but we was as an audience, the experience is just to watch this man go through what is because Dead Space is so horrifying, but a lot of the world hasn't seen it at all. You know.
Yeah, Dead Space is still to this day one of the more disturbing.
The necromorphs, the space setting, of course, not that space is new. It's just the way that they use it in that game, and then the nature of the enemies, the marker, the ritualistic sort of cult-like elements, and obviously the inspiration from Event Horizon. I just, oh well, not in that universe. We get what we get.
Gore Verbinski was supposed to direct BioShock, but the studio wouldn't give him the $150 million he asked for. Yikes.
I will say, on one hand, that would be awesome, Gore Verbinski, BioShock, especially in his prime with a $150 million budget. On the other, if they said to me, is that going to make its money back? I'd be like, maybe. It would have to be really, really fucking good, but I don't know.
I'm not 100% certain it could, actually.
Honestly, depending on what year we're talking about, it may very well not. That's the thing, though. It's like, how much money do you need then to properly put Rapture onto the screen in a way that's not shit? Like The Abyss, where they got that. Like, that kind of work is what I'd want to see for a BioShock film. That's never going to happen. They'll never even go.
The Abyss to this day is one of those movies I always laugh about because it was basically just a glorified tech demo for like, I want liquid stuff for Terminator 2. I'm going to make a whole movie to try and work it out. Uninspired, do you want to take this one? I mean,
sure.
Read this one. Yes.
RRTNZ for $5 New Zealand. Thank you, RRTNZ. Hey, Ruth and Felix. Sorry, can't stay for this at work. Hey, man, don't worry. Of course, there's re-uploads for a reason, dude.
Yeah, I'll leave it on my channel for a couple days, assuming it doesn't get ripped down by YouTube.
By Fox. And dude, I hope you're having a good day at work, man. Request for Mauler. Can you teach Drinker to pronounce morphid correctly? I can't say this. I don't know.
I
That's
should have
some
had
Welsh right there. Yeah, I'll just
RRT
leave
is
this one
the-
in general. But I didn't know. Oh, so well, because like the funny thing is, I'm with Drinker a decent amount. Has he been saying Morvid or something, or is it because Morphid is how you're supposed to pronounce that? The double D is a th sound in Welsh, and then what looks funny there is a normal pronunciation for a normal person, meaning non-Welsh, would be Osgwelch Chin Day.
I always. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Osgwelach. That's how you say that.
Oh wow!
Welsh
I
accent.
would.
Let me pull it
have
back up real
never
quick.
guessed that.
I make
Osgwelach
fun
Gda.
of RRT and Z all the time. I always tell him that he speaks what is it, Elvish, and that's basically what's going on there. So
Elvish.
Zed is
little
very
But yeah, I think even if I told him it's Morphith, like he might with the Scottish accent just run it kind of close to Morphid anyway. Like it's fine. Besides, he's making fun of him most of the time anyway. So we'll let it.
It's part of his character is to talk like that. Come on, just let it go. And Zed with more of that currency, I don't know. The 50 that's Czech currency. Alien Isolation is only alien content worth your time. I want to get Gary to play it, and it's a long game, and the atmosphere is just amazing. Gary would based on what I know about Gary's gaming experience, I think he'd pretty much just go insane in the first like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I love Gary, but as a gamer, you guys have to remember, whenever I see these recommendations, I'm like, I think my experience watching him play Lord of Ring Golem changed my mind about everything to do with games and Gary. It's like, he reminded me so much of trying to get my dad to play 007 Nightfire back in the day. It's just, when you deal with someone it's like an alien concept, the nature of looking around and walking at the same time. That to me is like step one of, we're not even close. You know, when you introduce a brand new friend to something like Dark Souls, even someone who's experienced can be like, this is tough. Gary's like having, difficulty with things that aren't, and this isn't to be mean to him or anything, but like Pac-Man and Tetris, like he understands those because the scope is very understood, and he would have played them and stuff. But when you want to put him on something like Alien Isolation, I don't know if that's gonna work out, and he might just
there's too many things to juggle.
Yeah, and it's like, so what game to recommend him then? It's like, it's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. Lord of Ring Golem's a good start, We're gonna get him trained up on that.
Like I remember and I know I said it before, but I remember very specifically there was points in Isolation where I'd be doing something and be like, wait a minute, how do I use this tool again? I haven't used it for hours.
I have that in games all the time, and I'm someone who fucking plays them too much. So you sometimes just have to remember that sort of thing. It's not even that he's old, honestly, because by the time we're old, I hope I'm not fucking shit at video games to the point I can't move properly. It's just that Gary's not as into video games, which is funny because his whole audience very much are. But that's just modern media interest people, because games have gotten so incredibly robust now.
It's interesting because the gaming industry is kind of like the industry that has had the most advancements in such a little time. Because imagine, like someone could have been alive to witness the birth of Tetris and to see the look of games now, and it's crazy to see how it's evolved.
Well, and it's also sad, right? Because especially people in our generations, we watched it flower as an amazing art form that had to earn respect, even though it's as far as I'm aware, it has the biggest market share. So it's like the one that everyone else sneers at as like a sort of, it's for fucking children playing little video games. But simultaneously, we have all these great works that we want to share with the world, analyze, talk about how impactful they are. We've already hit a serious downturn in the gaming industry, in terms of just what releases are coming out, and it's experiencing similar, if not exactly the same issues as lots of other industries of artwork and stuff. Because obviously I recently completed Star Wars Outlaws, and that is such a sad sort of perfect encapsulation of modern gaming, just Ubislop being poured all over everybody. And the really sad thing, by the way, is I was curious. I started looking at some reviews of it because I'd heard that people were saying it was a very good game, and I couldn't fathom that. If you watch my streams on it, I just can't fucking believe that anyone would think it was any good. And so many reviews were highly recommending it, and I was just like, man, I don't want to be too cynical, but are we at the point where people are just getting paid? And then you think, well, it's more complicated than that. It's not that they're paid; it's that they're offered access. This is the reason why Gary uses access as a sort of a describer of certain critics, because it's really important to remember when you are invited to a cushy place to do something in advance with exclusivity with very friendly people who help make the thing, and they take care of your drinks, maybe your food, and maybe even your travel, and then they give you a little gift bag. That's going to affect the way that you represent the game. And you might be like, I could be objective about it. It's like, I don't think so. I don't think anyone really can. It's going to hit you in ways that you won't even realize. And I find it all kind of fascinating because I thought the game was a pile of shit, but so many reviews have described it as not only good but kind of great and a great step forward for open world, which I was like, holy fuck, these people started playing video games yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like the gaming industry even broader when it comes to the consoles themselves. I feel like we've also taken a step back because look at how they were trying to incorporate different styles of play through new gadgets. For example, the Wii was something that was brand new. Then after that, you had the Xbox Kinect, which was also a really cool way to play like fighting games as well. And then you had those little gadgets for games like Skate, where you had the small skateboard and stuff. And you had all these little gadgets where they were trying to make you even more immersed in the game, kind of like you see in movies like Ready Player One, where everyone says, hey, that's probably the end goal when it comes to gaming, like basically being 100% immersed. It's like we were beginning to have that, and then it just sort of disappeared.
Man,
and I don't know why.
What's a better way to look at the stagnation of video games, if not the de-evolution, that's the word, than the announcement of the PS5 Pro? Is like, after all this time, the next iteration is the thing you already have, but slightly better that costs a shit ton. You're like, what? What the hell? And then everyone starts looking back at the 360, the PS2, the N64. You're like, oh.
We had it so good back then.
We had it so good, yeah.
Just hold that thought. I just want to say, because Zed, who's been very good with the super chats, has to go. I just want to say thank you. And
thank you, Zed.
You can catch the rest of this, like I said, assuming that Fox doesn't rip it down like the last two. You'll be able to watch the rest of it later on the channel.
Sweet.
But yeah, man. So of course the Predators, they kind of activate their pyramid radar. I think that's what just happens, and
it's like their blueprints of the thing.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like, what the fuck's going on?
Or in that case, the red prints, I guess, was what those would be.
And you have Lex Woods, who's out here laying the groundwork, basically just giving everyone the safety rules and tips for the expedition. And we meet Adele Rousseau, who kind of feels like she's gonna play a bigger part, and then just there, It's
there's strange decisions all over the place, but hey, she has an okay line here, right?
Yep. The condom
Though
line.
you understand, like, this line, I rate it as like a little more decent than usual in this film, but it does so much heavy lifting to even remotely try to explain why the fuck everyone's turned up with rifles.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, just in case. Like, what are you talking about? In case of what? Like, what were you expecting?
Iceman seems into her though.
Yeah, one.
That's a one. By the way, Mauler, a one is actually like a good thing. It's not on a scale of 1 to 10. It's it's a Mr. Brown joke. A big chunk of our audience is from the Mr. Brown Alliance's channel, and it's to like literally, I'd give her my one.
Yeah, I'd give her a one.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's really weird the way they just introduce a character and then it's like, nope, dead, instant, fast. It's like, yeah, all right, cool. And the fact that they bring a ton of guns, I didn't even think about the fact of why they were bringing them, dude. You're right. Well, they're gonna try and fight like ice demons, I guess.
I don't know what they expected. And think of the resources to bring all of them, especially carrying them personally through the temple, when compared to having resources to help you in literally any other way. But it's like, oh, we're being attacked by 2 different species of extraterrestrial horrifying monsters. Well, we got our rifles. Like, what the fuck? Okay, good, I guess.
And it's like those like secret agent ones where they like hit a button and the briefcase becomes a handgun, but it's like with a rifle. It's like
specifically to hide it from Lex, who's like the only one who seems to care that they have those guns.
Apparently, they were worried about very aggressive penguins.
Yeah, they're out there. Got to be careful.
So yeah, so they finally arrive at the place, and little reference to the thing in the cinematography. It's nice. And they get to where we were at the beginning, the whaling outpost that was abandoned after the incident of 1904 that we saw at the beginning of the movie. So what they do is they sort of explore around, and I do love the set design. You can really see where the budget went, and for that I do appreciate it.
As much as it's totally fair to say that there's a huge budget for this, and that's why they have it. We'll say whenever you go back and watch a movie from let's say it's in the 2010s back, and anytime then you'll every once in a while you'll be like, oh shit, yeah, everything's real. That's neat.
I mean,
because it had to be real at the time, or at least mostly.
Yeah, even for movies like this where it's kind of just dumb fun. For example, look at Final Destination 2, which came out around the same time. Final Destination 2 looks incredible when it comes to the practical effects that they did for the death and stuff like that. It's like, man. And then after CGI started, and then everything just switched to full CGI for no reason. It's just like, yikes. Yeah, man. It's a shame. It really is a shame. And so they discover the hole that was made by I guess it's the Predator ship that made the hole when they beamed through. And so
it was like a my guess that out of the time I've seen it is that this was the entry point that they made. It was literally a laser to burrow. Because they aren't there yet. The Predators haven't dropped. They drop in those like missile looking things in a little bit.
Yeah, it was just to like prep the entrance. So this was made in a day. Apparently it popped up in a day. And so they're kind of speculating what could have made it. And but they decide to go down. But before they go down, we get the conversation between Lex and Waylon. So we do learn that Waylon is sick. And we get the story of Lex's first drink with her dad, which, I mean, what do you guys think about the story that she tells?
This, I think, is probably, to me, the standout best part of the film for writing. The two exchanges. Her story, I think, tells you everything about her and why she is the way that she is. And then his response can tell you how what happened to her could send you the complete reverse direction. I really enjoy... The point of her story was very clear, made very well, and he just sort of says, like, you're not seeing the other way you could take that. And she doesn't have much to say to him when he is pretty clear about it, because what he says is both meaningful, like he listened, it applies to him, and it also makes you think about the two different characters and how they interact. I was genuinely kind of surprised a little bit. I was like, oh, that was a really nice line. For the record, this line clears everything in Alien Romulus.
Yep. And great delivery too from the actors, man. I think you would think that some actors would probably not give it their all. You think that they'd phone it in for a movie like this, but I'm glad that everyone was kind of giving it 100%.
Yeah,
I think Lance Henriksen kind of realized that he was the anchor point for this movie. I mean, granted, he does die still at one point because it's almost quick. Yeah. It's mandatory, but he was really the thing that was anchoring it. Besides the name. He's the one he was in Aliens. He's the through line. Nothing else is connected except for his character in some weird roundabout way.
He's the Lance is the anchor being. Yeah, he is. Yes.
Brilliant mechanic.
And so they start their descent into the hole. Is AvP canon? I think it is.
To my knowledge, it's not.
Depends on, I guess, your meaning, right? Like officially, what is canon? I don't even know what they would have to say. But for example, when you talk about Alien Predator, I think most people do not consider AvP or 2 to have happened, which is really interesting considering how much people fucking hate some of the decisions in Alien 3, Alien 4. The Predator. I don't know if Predators is considered canon or not. It's
They do mention, if I recall correctly, in Predators, they do actually mention some of the stuff from the first two movies, or at least the first movie. So I think.
Oh, they do, yeah. But
yeah.
you know, that shows it wants to be in the team, but will the team accept it? Sort of thing is it's you know, what a horrifying set of films that you wonder, do they count or not? Because if you involve Terminator as well, not for any other reason than just discussing canon, you know, the fact that 3 and 4, it's like people discuss whether or not they even like them or consider them canon. And then 5 wipes the canon completely and fucks it all up with time travel. And then 6 wipes 5, 4, and 3 off the table and says, no, I'm canon with 1 and 2. It's hard to, you know, and you're like multiple universes. You're like,
and don't forget Salvation. Oh, this isn't how it was supposed to happen. It's changed. So it's like that even changes that too.
Yeah.
There's a handful of franchises that will never be able to settle that debate, and you just named 3 of them. The 2 of them are these, and 1 of them is Terminator. What is canon in those ones is almost impossible to figure out at this point.
I mean, maybe the meaningful question is, what do you guys think and feel about AvP being as part of the grand story that is Aliens and Predators, or do you consider it just a fun little thing on the side?
I just consider it a fun thing on the side. I think it was a little. It almost feels like a really big budget fan project. That wasn't which wasn't the worst execution of it. You know, there's a lot of times where that kind of stuff looks way worse than this. And there was at least some care put into this. It wasn't like it was just, hey, let's make as much money as possible. There was clearly some care put into this.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the same idea. I do think that it's a little thing on the side, but if it is canon, I wouldn't really mind, because there's some interesting stuff here, and I don't think that it's worse than, you know, as you said before, about stuff that they do in Alien 3, for example, like, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think even every Alien fan would agree with that. Even though most people would concede Alien 3 is the better constructed film, that what it does to the story of the characters of Alien is almost impossible to forgive, right? And so, in a sense, for me, we start with Terminator, for example. 1 and 2 are the story of Terminator for me. Nothing else happened. That's it. And someone could be like, "Really?" And I'd be like, you know, it's don't take it too seriously. That's just, I'm telling you how my brain sort of thinks about the story that is Terminator. For Predator, it's 1 and 2. I don't really think that anything else happened yet. And you're like, not even Prey then? It's like, not really.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, I need to be given something that fits in better, I guess. And then it was like, what about Aliens? Like, Alien and Aliens. And then 3, depending on what day you catch me, how I'm feeling, maybe my brain sort of acknowledges 3 is the continuation of the story, even though I really hate what they decided to do. But 4, no. Prometheus, no. Covenant, no. Romulus, fucking no.
I could just see someone being like, Alien 3 is good. Mauler being like, no, it's not. And then people being like, but it has Charles Dance. And he's like, oh, good. Very good argument.
I did say on I think it was the open bar regarding this, upon rewatch semi recently, it has gone a bit further up in my estimation. I think it's because of directly comparing it with what it could have been. There's so much in Alien 3 to appreciate compared to how much of a disaster it could have, and to be honest with you, should have been, if you watch the production hell of it.
Yeah,
you know?
Alien 3 was marred by studio interference and all sorts of problems. It was just, there was a lot of things that could have went one direction and didn't.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree with you guys. But yeah, so in the movie right now, what happens is they're descending the hole, and Lance Henriksen slips, but he is caught by, of course, Lex Woods with her ice pick. Of course, she is our Tomb Raider. So, yeah, I mean, dude, the amount of upper strength that she has to have to just.
I mean, she would actually have pretty good upper body strength, though. She climbs mountains.
Yeah. This is actually something I guess you'd expect she'd be able to do.
Also, she drives that into the ice, so it's not just purely her strength. The ice, the fact that she drives it into the ice would help to hold it there. The ice itself would help hold it.
This is because if anyone was going to be able to do it, it's the person who's does this as a career, which she is. So it's like, that's fine.
I would argue that the more impressive thing is the timing than the strength. Yeah. That's
Which
I find both impressive, man.
I try to take it as a recognition of her skill, talent, reaction time sort of thing, and how she is actually needed on this, but it is a little bit silly.
I mean, of all the girl boss moments I've ever seen in movies, this one at least makes sense. Like the one thing I can look past it being a little silly if it's been set up, and literally her opening scene is her climbing the side of a mountain,
Answering the phone too while
answering the phone while she's doing it, so I can accept this.
That's just like the ice version of Mission Impossible 2.
But I'm saying it makes sense in context of like, it's not like all of a sudden she did something that was very random. It was
sure. She's like the extreme, I don't know, just the
climber.
She knows what she's doing. She just doesn't like it when she's got to protect people who don't know what they're doing just because of the circumstances.
Yeah, she basically has to babysit him. Yeah,
like even later in the movie when they like take on the queen. I know that's way ahead of now, but like the one thing that she does do that kind of takes it down is she chains it to, which she's used to latching chains quickly and doing stuff because of being a mountain climber. You need to be able to latch fast, and
I think this is probably a great example of the exchange period between the crap female characters we have today and the greats of people like Ellen Ripley. This feels like the midway point where there's stuff about it that's working, but you're also starting to fray at the edges, and you've not really considered this as well as you could have. And a lot of it isn't in the subtleties of the performance. It's more overt moments like that, where you didn't need that to fully grasp a character like Ripley. But you know what I mean? Like it's like this is a mixed bag with Lex, because I don't mind her in this movie. I kind of like her. There's a particular moment for I don't know the actress's name, where she comes through quite well acting wise, and I find her easy to sort of follow as like a I hope they can make it, I guess, through the story type person. She doesn't annoy me anywhere near as much as a lot of female characters,
The chat's getting a little cynical right now for $9.99. If you ever want to experience a version of this movie that doesn't suck, the comic book it's based on from Dark Horse Comics by Randy Stradley and Phil Norwood is spectacular. I have read some of the comic. I have not. There is a lot of the comics though. Like there's multiple omnibuses worth of the comics. But thank you, Cynic, and don't worry. I'm also working for Date Sep tomorrow. Don't
worry. And so so we have the 3 predators that are dropping in straight from the ship and into the ground, and they're coming in hot. And in the meanwhile, they have finally discovered the pyramid and arriving there. And man, some nice artwork created by the predators. Just like
they're slave labor, right? Or whoever they were, the worshippers.
Yeah, man, they liked interior design. They had some good taste. So yeah, of course, that kind of wakes up the queen. What they do is they step on a trap, if I remember correctly. So yeah, they step on a trap, on the floor, and it basically takes the queen out of ice, and so it just defrosts her. And man, I love the animatronics on this.
She looks great.
CGI. Yeah, it looks fantastic. Oh man,
they rarely. Still to this day, what they did in Aliens, and even here, some of the most impressive prosthesis and animatronics with the alien queen. It's like the undisputed. I was going to say king, the undisputed queen of animatronics, in my opinion.
Oh, incredible stuff! Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's the thing about AvP, as we were mentioning earlier. She's good looking, as with a lot of the special effects. For me, it's not the prosthetics or even the use of CG. It's the way it's edited, animation. The way it's because just that shot of an ice queen just looks badass as hell.
That's true, man. Paul W.S. Anderson had flair,
He always understood what made a good looking shot. That's for sure. Like, I will never take that away from him. Almost every movie, like, he has great looking shots. It's that his later stuff just kind of becomes nonsensical and the writing doesn't matter.
He is the poor man's Michael Bay.
Yeah, he's in the conversation with the Michael Bays and the Zack Snyders of the world, where they can make things that look really good, but when you start to think about it a little bit, you're like, huh? What the hell's going on?
Yeah, it was kind of what I was the same class as Roland Emmerich, where people were just, giving them a ton of money at the time.
You were saying, Mauler?
Kind of where I was going with it was less. I was complimenting the design of like all the practical effects, as in like all the artists that would have taken care of that, and then the CG people. I was the thing that I find to be I'm critical of in this film is more so how they are executed with someone like a Paul W.S. Anderson, as in how it's edited, how it's framed, the tone of like the scenes. We're gonna get to it, but like they are very actiony. Like I think Aliens kept, especially when you have the initial sequence of the Marines dying, the horror aspect is still absolutely there. This film, I feel like it's pretty much almost gone, and it's mostly an action thing. Especially like what keeps hitting my head over and over again is the drums for the Predator sort of theme, and the camera sort of coming in on him being like, "Fuck yeah, let's do this," and the alien being like, "I'm gonna fuck you up, buddy," and the tone of it is very. Oh, this is a bit silly, isn't it? But it's okay. And you might think to yourself, like, well, how do you make that horror? It's like, well, I think a lot of talented directors would be able to, but Paul W.S. Anderson didn't want to, especially being that we were trying to hit, was it like a PG-13 for this?
Yeah, they were trying to.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest issue with this, is that it was PG-13, which which leaves a lot that could have been desired.
Because even the things that have blood, you can tell a ton of it is kind of CG blood, which is just like, all right, it's added in post. But yeah, so now they're down there, and of course we get our first attack by a predator, and it's this poor dude that just dies off screen, and then his buddies get killed. And you see what I mean? You can tell that this is clearly CG with some CG blood.
Yeah, this would have been a hard thing to do back then and make it look convincing. 2004, to have an invisible blade puncture someone and have blood on it.
Well, I mean
assume they can afford it, but having glass sort of blades and then splashing blood on them, I think that might get it. I'd like to know what it looks like.
Dude. Yeah, because I mean, this was kind of around the time of Spider-Man and Pirates of the Caribbean. Like they had good CGI back then, Yeah,
my guess is that that's just those are green blades that they just completely removed and added the blood.
Yeah,
or it could be completely constructed, honestly, from CG.
Yeah, that's a possibility too.
And,
the actual blade, I do actually really enjoy the blade style. Like not specifically this shot, but the way that they have them in this movie. Because in the original they were very streamlined. They only had the one jagged portion, and these they're very much like they have a bunch of teeth, and I think that's pretty cool looking, and it separates it a little bit from the other ones.
On one hand, I agree with you, and I really like that every Predator has got a different take on their own preferences for their own gear. I think that's a really cool aspect. On the other, I see this as Paul W.S. Anderson taking what he saw and being like, "Fucking crank it, boys! Let's get even more." On
That's the term. That's the word I was looking for. Serrated. Thank you, Danny B. I was trying to think of the word.
Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson was I guess it was kind of given maybe a bit of full reign, because this would have been after the success of the first two Resident Evil movies.
No, it's the second one came out after this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so just the first movie.
Yeah. The second, I always say that the second Resident Evil movie is where it lost me, when she has a fist fight with Nemesis. But we can have that discussion a different day.
Dude, to think, if only this film were delayed by a year or two, it wouldn't be Lex. It would have been Mila Jovovich being on there.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
And she would have fist fought with the Predator and the Alien Queen, and she would have saved all of the days.
Yeah, dude. She would have just given she would have done a flying wushu kick to the Queen's head, and then boom, would have been dead.
And they would have been like, she has the DNA of both the Predators and the aliens. She's the perfect organism. They would literally just bring in what the brain is failing me right now, the android from the original Alien, Ash, yeah, they're bringing Ash to be like, she's the perfect organism. That's
yeah. So at this point, the Predator has hung up his victims, and we see him, if I'm not mistaken, appear for one of the last kills. And yeah, man, I like the way they treat the predator in this movie. I feel like it's kind of cool.
One of the things I appreciate is the weight. He makes sure that almost everything to do with the predators sort of rumbles for lack of a better term. It's like the equivalent of rumbling the controller for a movie, where wherever he lands, the sound effects and the nature of the world around him is responding to the fact that this thing is fucking heavy, which is exactly what a predator should be. I'm very protective of how predators are treated, which is we're going to get to part of why I hate this movie. There's pieces, okay? I like and hate it. But making sure these guys are ferocious, intelligent, strong. Like, there's a lot of things about it. I will give leeway for the fact that they are trainees, essentially, right? Like, this three of predators, they're all new. They're like trying to prove themselves.
Yeah,
So
there's clearly one who's a little bit better than the others, though. But yeah, they're all.
So, I think there's leeway for that to have them make mistakes, but I will always prefer portraying a predator as fucking intelligent, not just, like that was my big issue with the ending of Prey. He shot himself in the head. It was like,
this was if I recall correctly, this was the movie that started that they had to figure out subtle ways to make the predators what's the word I'm looking for? Less uncanny valley, I guess would be. They had to change them enough to make us as the viewer look at them and be like, okay, they're not bad. They're like more anti-hero.
They made the decision. Yeah, they knew that we were going to be like the one on the left there. Like, he's going to be our predator that we like out of the three by the end of the film. So they need to set it up ahead of time that they're the one. The aliens, are the bad guys. The predators are the good guys, which is totally not at all how you should have fucking done this. But okay.
No, it should have been neutral approach completely.
You need a full reset of how you're approaching this film, but I think it's an easy way to format it. And I know for a fact that Paul W.S. Anderson, like, trust me, it'll work for the audience. And I'd be like, probably will, but whatever. But yes, they made changes to the aliens, the Predator's design, and when he takes the mask off and you get a full look at him and you compare him to the original, the Predator looks so much worse because they're trying to.
Looks horrible.
I think it's one of the worst ones. Yeah, they try to give you a really good look at his eyes to get you to sort of, empathize or understand, and it's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, yeah, they shrunk the head significantly. If you look at the original design in the second movie, the head is much larger. They made the skin less scaly looking, because if you remember, it's especially in the first Predator when they show the skin, it's very like almost snake-like. It's got that slimy look, even though it's just smoothness. In this, when they show the closer up of the skin, it's not. It still looks alien. It still looks like extraterrestrial, but it's not as slimy. You can kind of see it there. And it's just these subtle things that they tried to do. Whether or not they worked, I'm not sure, because I never really felt that I got the sense that they worked. But at least I understand where they were coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell what they did. We know why they did it. I don't like it. But hey, mixed bag.
No, I mean, yeah, I feel like when something gets dumbed down for no reason, that's where I have a huge issue. So Prey, I completely agree with you, Mauler. Prey, like, the ending was just pure stupidity. And
compare it directly with him taking on a bear, like, and pouring its blood over him so that you could actually make him out in the invisibility. I was just like, that's a great Predator payoff. Having him shoot himself in the head is the opposite of a great Predator payoff.
That's the guy. That's the one villain from The Predator that did that too.
Yep.
Oh my god! Like,
it
worked so well there. Let's repeat.
And that's just one of two instances of a character shooting themselves in that film by accident.
So we finally reached the sacrificial chamber, which is intended for the so-called chosen ones. And yeah, it's I like the way they sort of mesh in the human history with the Predator lore, with the alien lore as well. I think it's interesting. It gives me a weird amount of issues because of the amount of xenomorphs that they show during that weird flashback thing. But
I don't know if that was meant as a like a theoretically how it would, because he was reading the story off a wall. I wonder if he was just the visuals are supposed to be a little exaggerated for the sake of. I don't know that they were saying that definitely happened as opposed to this is what would happen if this happened.
Yeah, I almost felt like that scene would have, because it was supposed to be like him imagining it, would have been a cool. They could have did some cool shit with maybe transforming the hieroglyphics into some sort of animation to show it. I think would have been decent.
Sure, it could be cool. I mean, the visual of a pyramid filled with aliens with 3 predators at the top firing plasma casters was very much like, okay, all right. I get it. It's cool. I get it. I get you wanted that to happen.
My favorite thing about that scene is the one in the middle, like we'll call it the main one, is just shouting and holding his staff like you're still being overrun.
Like maybe he was just like, so we're dead. Anyway, yell. Like, on this scene, by the way, the thing that struck me, and it's such a, I guess, nitpick, but of all the people been sacrificed, they show, I think it's like 5 of them still have face, like a dead face hugger on their face.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've been shown it kills off and it comes off like every time. It never stays on. Like, why have you done that? Why have you done that with 5 of them? If you did it with 1 of them, I could maybe buy it. Just like, yeah, it's just something that happens. But so many of the it's like, do they keep them on maybe as part of the ritual? Like make it so they can't come off or something? I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of with that specifically is it's such an honor. They've like made it into an honor that maybe they put them back onto those bodies. Yeah, it's considered like the highest honor to be one of the chosen ones to be the host here. So
I agree. Daniel's got a point though. This like, maybe it's just they thought that people wouldn't understand if they didn't do that.
Well, that kind of plays into what I said too. It's, I think one of the aspects of this movie that they may have done without even realizing they were doing was they had to assume that there was going to be fans of one and not the other in there as well. So maybe they did do little subtle things like that.
Oh, I could be wrong actually, because I was letting it play while we were talking. I think they're helmets.
Oh, I watched it 2 days ago. I remember seeing.
Yeah, see that screenshot? So the ones closer to them, they've all got what I thought were facehugger skeletons on them, but actually I think they're helmets now.
Oh, okay.
We get another shot.
No, there's definitely one. If you look at the one left, it might just be a the embellishments
ritual type thing. Because there's a shot that comes up a little bit later that shows a close up, and it's some weird helmet design that I think obviously supposed to be like it's supposed to evoke the face hugger, but I think I was just, misreading that. Okay, fair enough. Hey, maybe that solves both problems. It's like we wanted to have a thing that implies how they died, but simultaneously not make it so the face hugger stayed on. So we made helmets or hats, whatever you want to call them, ritual things. Beautiful.
Yeah. And so we get a little glimpse of the queen that has been activated.
Looking gooey.
The queen, she's like big, like she's like fat, man.
Yeah, man. The practical effects on the queen are really good, man. They make her really slimy and disgusting. Even the CGI, man. I just think it's those
eggs, man. Ugh. Beautiful.
Yikes. Yeah.
Plenty of goo.
And so what the predators have been doing is they've just been keeping her chained up and ready to pop babies, I guess, every 100 years. That's kind of what they imply. And
wait, uninspired. I got a couple of supers. I don't want this. I want Gourd Kings to get read because before it's far too far away about the cave art from before that we saw. The Gourd King for $2. The cave art was done by preschool engineers. Got Fight the Club for $5. Well, damn, I'm catching the stream late, but I won't pass up on the long man versus Paul W.S. Anderson. You had me with Three Musketeers on War Arc.
I will stand by. There are hardly any films from him that annoy me. They all amuse me and entertain me. He's always come across to me as someone who enjoys the entertainment factor of film and has seen loads of films but doesn't quite know how to make films. So he sort of, or rather write stories, I guess, tell stories. And it feels sometimes like you're watching a kid sort of make their dreams come true. But in a way, I think that he's got more to praise about him than someone like Zack Snyder. So I take that for what it will.
I wonder what would happen if so you gave Paul W.S. Anderson a proper, legitimate, let's say 9 out of 10 script. I wonder how he would direct it. I would be genuinely curious to see if he could maybe have a resurgence in his career and try and get himself an Oscar.
I mean, at this point, does the Oscar even matter though? Like,
Maybe for Paul W.S. Anderson, it would.
I always just find it funny. So there's two Paul Anderson directors / writers, and one of them is known for being kind of a little too artisty with some things, with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah,
and maybe and making movies that are just so like he refuses to back down on certain scenes. He needs to make sure they're exact. And then like Paul W.S. Anderson's like the opposite, but for like visuals, he's just like, I just want this cool shot no matter what. It's like they're like the negative of each other. It's hilarious.
And then you got Wes Anderson, who's just strange. So maybe you add them all together and you get the perfect artist.
We have one more from Films Comics Explained for $20. You want to read this? You want to read this one on the spark?
Oh yeah, dude, for sure. For a Paul W.S. Anderson film created to exploit two popular Fox IPs, it had no reason being this enjoyable. I had some issues with it, but Alexa is a tolerable girl boss, and it was great to see the Predators wreaking havoc. Indeed, it was. Yeah, man, I'm glad that they let the Predators kind of go all out. One thing I do think that's lacking from what I would call a versus movie is the fact that we don't really have three. I guess you would say the way that they did it for Godzilla versus Kong was they kind of had three matches where one was in Godzilla's house, one was in Kong's house, one was on neutral ground. And they even sort of did the same with Freddy versus Jason. And I do think that's just one thing that's sort of lacking here. That I would.
You need that rubber match. You need to have that 3-factor authentication for who's best.
Yeah, basically. That's just one thing that I think was just missing in this movie for me. But I still enjoy it though.
We'll just thank you all for those super chats. We'll get to a few more in a little bit.
Yeah, so this is the dude that that was taken out at the beginning, and he's still alive, but not for long because the Predators pass by, and they slice him up. And this is a nice, good look at the Predator suit. I love it, man.
I'm quite a fan of this guy's mask, and I kind of like this Predator in this movie for the most part.
That mask is the most similar to the iconic original, I would say. It's probably it doesn't have a crazy amount of embellishment, doesn't have like a mouth design or anything. It's just very streamlined.
Simple. Yeah. And so this, I didn't really understand what this thing was. Was it just like a calendar lock? Because I was sort of confused. You just had to input the current date.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got, was that you just had to set it to the correct date and it would open.
Which is kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
well, I think one of the things is that makes it difficult is, didn't they say it's in all 3 languages? So that's why it would. The actual puzzle itself isn't the hard part. It's the fact that you need to be able to translate 3 languages.
So.
I mean, I guess remember, it's not supposed to be a puzzle. This is all ritualistic. It's supposed to have people who worship the Predators be facilitating
able to open it.
If not simply the Predators are supposed to walk in, deliberately step on the stone to activate the Queen, and then move up to their weapons, put in the date, get their weapons out, and picking up the weapons symbolizes, I guess, the hunt begins.
Yeah, shit's about to go down.
Yeah, it is pretty contrived, man. Because it's a lot of work to do just to get your weapons and stuff.
It is very strange to me that the weapons are in the facility. It's just,
I don't know.
Seems unnecessary.
There was one line that I wrote down here that I thought was funny. So, but to get to where they are, they drop down a glow stick into that like drain ditch thing that's there, and they go down, and she's using her little, where am I on the map watch, and she's like, "Whoa, we should be right below the sacrificial chamber," and then but she's standing right next to the glow stick that they dropped. Like, no shit. Like that, it's clearly you're below it. This is the thing you drop down.
Yeah, plus the movie really showed you that they were beneath the sacrificial chamber because you could see the rest of the people getting. Yeah,
it's like, hey, there's the hole right there. I could see it.
So this is the little glimpse of the weapons that we have. Pretty, mediocre design. I don't know. I don't really like the design for the weapons.
Mauler, would you like to address this comment based on your hatred for Romulus?
I think the Predator's heat vision gives him an unfair advantage over the aliens, along with them having a map of the place as it's shifting. They do have an unfair advantage, but that's because the Predators are better than the aliens. They just
but the thing is that Romulus established that they use heat vision as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I just because this is getting into something that we're probably going to discuss now, pretty close to the events of this film. But when you tell me a Predator is going to fight an alien, for me, like it was back then and it is back right now, I'm just like, so the Predator wins, all things standard. And because we did the death battle thing recently on EFAP, and it's like, well, what's the setup? And it's like, well, if they were both dropped into any real environment, and the Predator has its gear, the alien's going to lose most of the time. Yeah. It could still win, but it's going to be much harder for the alien. And then you find out that the Predators have alien vision. And it's like, it's over. There's nothing the aliens can fucking do.
The alien, the xenomorphs themselves, one of the things that they need to overwhelm you. They need to have higher numbers. And in this movie, they kind of fudge around with that a little bit. But that's really their thing. Oh, God.
If you don't have weapons, obviously Alien would be the example, then the alien can control the situation pretty well and kill you all. If you do have weapons, the alien has to be a bit smarter, or it needs to have overwhelming numbers. Yeah, you're right. And acid blood can always help as a swan song, as Rook calls it. But I think, this scenario, the Predators are here to test their abilities. You could say, how is this fair? How does this prove anything? And I'd be like, well, it's still something, especially when it starts with 7 aliens, I think, in the sacrificial chamber. That's still significant for 3 Predators in close quarters with the walls moving around. You can get fucked by that.
Hello, Danilo Martins. Sometimes that's how it's pronounced in Brazil. I know a lot of Brazilians. I've trained jiu-jitsu for 16 years, but I did actually train with a guy named Danilo once. So
nice.
Not the same last name.
So what they do is they take the guns, and once they do take the guns, I guess what I would say the lockdown procedure happens, and everyone's kind of trapped, and this is where we get the scene in the sacrificial chamber, which, man, I really like. Let me play the clip, then we can talk about it. You see, just in that little, 13-second snippet, it looks way better than Romulus.
Well, there was just too many of them. There was just too many of them in Romulus. That was the main problem. It took out So one of the things that makes the facehugger specifically very scary is that you don't know where one of them is. Like they just kind of, you could open. In theory, you could just be chilling at your house, open up your pantry, and one flies out and grabs your face. Like that's the scariness. But when you have literally hundreds of them running, it makes it kind of silly because it takes away the surprise factor from it.
Yeah,
I find I have a feeling you guys might agree. I'll say, but the best face hugger scene is going to be from Aliens for me. It's the
one where they're trapped in the
Ripley. Is phenomenal. The thing that struck me so much about that, especially it was on a rewatch. I was actually watching it with Fringy, and I just kept replaying the moment where you see it just for a few seconds, very frantically crawling toward Ripley while she's on the ground. Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck me, that's the best running toward a person a face hugger has ever looked." And I know it's not CG. How did they do it? And I got the anthology, right, which has a huge set of behind the scenes, and I saw the guy talking about the mechanism they created to make it look that way, how difficult it was, how it's got the practical one with wheels and legs that move according to how fast it's moving on a pulley system that goes back and forth, and then they've got the reverse shots to make pull it off things and make it look very physically that it's all imposing. they describe everything. They talk about how James Cameron was kind of an asshole with how he'd be like, again, no, again, no, again, no, again. They're like getting it right. But look how it fucking turned out. And then Romulus, I was really struck by. I saw the behind the scenes thing before I saw the film. There's this one thing of they'd made the remote controlled facehuggers, and I wish, like if we had a good shot of it, but they show it, and in the behind the scenes, you expect it to be kind of silly because it's behind the scenes, and they've got it, and they're like, look at it go, and it's like spinning around in a circle, it can go forward, but very clearly on like compact wheels, and the legs are just automatically going. They're just sort of generally going, and I was like, that doesn't look great, but okay, maybe in the movie it'll look better because this is behind the scenes. And when I saw it in the fucking film and they were moving around in the scene, I was like, oh god, they didn't fix it up. It looks exactly the same. They look like little fucking remote controlled cars. They don't look like facehuggers at all. And I couldn't believe it because I was like, how did aliens with way lower tech and no CG post processing shit to like fix everything make realistic face huggers? And then you watch AvP and you're like, well, they managed to do it too. What happened, Romulus? What's going on?
Yeah, and I don't know, man. A lot of people are saying Romulus is a labor of love. I guess it is, but it just goes to show you the example of how far we've fallen in terms of actual practical effects techniques in Hollywood in general.
You know what sums this up perfectly? I don't know if you guys heard it, but it was like, I want to say 2 years ago, maybe more, maybe 3. Because I think I was playing Halo at the time. I had a bit of a back and forth with Az and Drinker about the nature of praising the shit out of practical versus CG. I can't remember what episode of it was Open Hour, Open Bar or
Open Hour.
Yeah, Open Hour.
Making up shows now.
We were sort of going back and forth on, you almost reflexively want to praise anything that's practical versus CG, and I think it's made us forget a little bit because we've seen so much CG that there are bad practical effects, and we need to call them out.
Wait, did you do this on? This might have been on the Predator Happy Hour.
It might have been
very familiar because that was like that was the very first happy hour that very first thing I ever sent a super chat in for. I'll never forget that. And I'm pretty certain that's where you talked about it because you guys were talking about the look of the Predator and the history of it, because I think it was when because they showed the Drinker had pulled up a picture of what it looked like in the red as like the green screen, so to say, it would have been red screen. And then they pulled up the picture of what it would have looked like made up to when it wasn't invisible. Yeah. I think that's when you talked about it.
Yeah, because the feeling is we should always
Mikey just back me up. Yeah, I remember that.
The feeling is we should always opt for a physical effect when I always bring in the Balrog because I feel it counters that position quite handily. The Balrog is incredible, and I don't believe it would have looked better if it was physical. And I don't believe that anyone would ever do it physically without any post-processing or CG on it. You'd have to, right? Like, you want to touch up, you're going to want to do this, you're going to do it, especially with the motions it's doing. And so it's like, well, what the truth is there is good and bad CG, and there's good and bad practical. And I think this was perfectly encapsulated by something that blew my mind at the time, but they just committed to it. The Mandalorian season 2, episode 2, I believe, when they are fleeing the spider army, and they put Baby Yoda down, and he is a remote-controlled baby, and they put him down, and he clearly revs up his wheels, and then awkwardly skiters forward with his wheel. I couldn't I was like, wow, that was awful. And I remember at the time, a lot of people were like, well, yeah, but it's practical. It's awesome. And it's like, no. You have
like a weird defense, like even if it's bad, but if it's practical, it gets allowed for some reason.
What feels ironic about that is that if you had a good CG artist, they might have been able to save that practical effect in post. But you remember it looks awful in the season finale of Mandalorian season 3, where it's like doing those flips. We keep using that as a clip of examples of just horrible practical effects where it pulls me right the fuck out. And it's like, yeah, but it's practical. It's like, please stop saying that. Like, practical. There are practical artists out there who do incredible work, and then there are practical artists who are like, yeah, it looks good enough, I guess. Fuck it, slap some glue. And you need to draw a line. We can't, because I am all for advocating, going back to older methods of representing effects instead of relying on CG, but at the same time, don't just be practical. You need to actually
Yeah,
understand what you're doing and why.
the craftsmanship has to be there, and I don't think that the craftsmanship is there because it hasn't been passed along. You have an entire generation that it basically skipped, and now the next generation is coming back and trying to do practical, but they don't know any of the original techniques. So it just ends up coming out either way worse or way more costly, which is why studios are very hesitant to do practical, because you're sort of burning away money, giving it to people who don't know 100% what they're doing, and you're not guaranteed with a 10 out of 10 result. So man, it's a tough way that the industry is going, man.
And
Tremors.
to bring it back, the use of the Romulus face huggers being practical is something that everyone was like raving and ranting about how awesome that is, and I was just like, but they don't look very good though.
Yeah, it still needs to actually, just because something is practical does not necessarily mean that it should be held up on a pedestal, which is pretty much what we're getting at. Yes, it's more difficult, but it doesn't and it could be a labor of love, but like if you're not good at something, it doesn't really show the love you're trying to show.
And to be fair, there are plenty of shots where the facehuggers do look good, and a lot of them are CG, by the way, in Romulus. It's just that I was very struck by these shots of the room where they have to be quiet and where you can see distant facehuggers doing the remote controlled shit, and I was so like, oh god, little robot facehuggers.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that scene in The Mist where they go to the pharmacy and there's the acid spiders. It's like something like that manages to work how many years ago, and the facehugger scene just it's like, all right, cool, just to compare it to something else. And
we have a related super chat from Eddie from Outer Space for that's €2, right?
Yep, €2
for
€2. R.I.P. to The Thing. Practical FX, all was wasted.
Indeed.
Yep, that's a really sad story as well. Obviously, the remake thing, 2011 was that?
Yes, it was 2011.
I'll do the other two that I have while I'm here for True Pop Culture 7, who's pounds $199. Bad movie, but somewhat fun. Have a good one, folks. I guess he's not watching anymore. Hopefully, he sees that on the re-up.
Thank you, Drew.
And I see one from Iron Mandrill. I'm gonna save that for later because we're gonna talk about something similar to that. So I did not miss that one. I'm just gonna save yours for a more relevant portion of the discussion.
All right. So at this point in the movie, shit is going foobar. So they want to get out of there, and what happens is Maxwell Stafford starts to lead the team. And what they discover is that the fact that the rooms shift on, I think it's every 10 minutes is when the rooms start to shift, which is, it's nice and cool, man. Good reference to Cube too.
It's kind of a cool mechanic that's insane, and I guess matches alien tech, so you're okay with it. And then what's funny, I don't know if you guys played the, I want to say 2010 AvP game, but there was a map in that had the shifting sort of pyramid blocks thing. That
I think that's the one I played. It's the first person one, right?
Yeah. Well, depending on what you play as, I think you can go. Yeah, your third person is the alien, and then you can go first for all of them, actually. Yeah, but anyway, I quite enjoyed that game, and the competitive nature of that map was a lot of fun. It's a cool, fun idea, and I think they do pretty well with it in this film, though. It gives you access as a writer to split everyone into any groups you want, and I don't think they take very great advantage of that.
They basically kill everybody in the first group.
They pretty much kill everybody, which is a shame, I think.
Yeah, because there's so much tension that could just be involved in there, which I think something like Cube actually does that well, where it shows you the tension that can happen with the different pairings up in different spaces, but every time they pair out someone, they just die, especially at the beginning, because they just have one person alone and then dies automatically. Then the next person's alone, dies automatically, and it's like, all right, cool. And they don't even have satisfying deaths compared to the characters, which we'll get to in just a bit, actually. So let me just move on. So we're back at the sacrificial chamber, and we finally get to see Paul W.S. Anderson's version of the chest burster, which was really quick, actually.
It's insanely quick.
Yeah, they barely showed it. I was like, oh, all right.
Oh, I thought you meant insanely quick in terms of showing it, because obviously the age rating avoiding. But simultaneously it's super quick
Oh yeah, the
gestation.
transformation. Yep.
This kind of shit, I just don't. This is part of like it's not canon to me. This is not enough time. Neither is it in Romulus.
Yeah,
No.
the original Alien and Aliens, it took days for it to gestate properly. And the facehugger would be on them for pretty much the whole time, and it would provide the
Oxygen.
the oxygen. It
Yeah.
would be basically a life support system.
Yep.
I'm guessing
Yeah.
also would be providing some sort of fluids and stuff to not dehydrate them.
I just
Potentially.
don't understand why we've gotten to the point where the facehugger transformation is so quick. I understand that it's just because we need to have more aliens by the end of the movie or by, you know, a certain point of the movie. So chop, chop, chop. We can't wait till the end to have a fully fleshed out alien. We need to have them now, but I don't get it, man. I feel like it's just such a wasted opportunity to let them bask in terror.
When you're making your good old alien horror film, right, you gotta have the sequences where they don't understand anything that's going on. Then you gotta have the facehuggers skittering around and they grab people. You gotta have the spooky time of realizing you're impregnated. You gotta have the bursting. Then we gotta have the finding the skin, finding slime, finding walls that have become alienified, and then getting the big aliens and all your general payoffs of that. And it's like, yeah, we can do all of that. And it's like, okay, yeah, but just remember, between the big alien and the facehugger latching on, there's a huge amount of time you gotta wait. And then they're just like, no. And you're like, oh, but you have to. It's like, no. Okay.
We don't want
And
to.
yeah, for me, it's a matter of you gotta solve that problem. You can't skip it. It's so important. And you can use it. Use it like Alien used it. It's just Alien wasn't even like it's not like it's grueling. You can make use of the time in lots of different ways.
Yeah,
Get the characters to say things about themselves. That'd be crazy.
This comment here from Rambling PJ. This is probably everybody that I've ever talked to about the first Alien movies. Biggest issue with the xenomorphs is that they go from the chest burster, which is essentially like the size of a medium-sized snake, you know, with a tail, and all of a sudden they're like 7-8 feet tall, fully figured within a couple of hours. It is an incredibly quick process. You know,
funny.
Yeah.
That is quick, but Romulus fucking beat the record by having a literal baby turn into a giant adult in like 1 minute at most.
Yeah.
That was insane. Because I'll give you, there's probably some laws of thermodynamics that are being fucking stretched and broken by the alien doing it in the original, but I can still buy it because we don't see it for a selection of the film. We don't know exactly what it looks like, what it's doing, or what it needs to grow, whatever. But yeah, the what is it called? The Offspring, I think, is the name they gave it.
Yeah.
That shit was so funny to me. I was just like, good God, we already skipped the gestation thing, and now we're just skipping everything.
Dude, you should have seen my face at the theater when that thing happened. Like I went to the theater with my sister, and she's not a huge fan of sci-fi in general, so it was already a stretch to get her in the cinema with me. And when that part happened, she just looked at me and was like, "What the fuck is this bullshit?" I was like, "Oh man, even you see it too."
So I think the answer to this question, why can't some facehuggers work more quickly than others? Not a big deal. Got to move on, keep on moving. So here's the thing: is there's consistency, but we also have to operate within the concepts of what we know as biological functions. If a human just tomorrow just had a baby in 2 weeks after becoming pregnant, we'd be like, that's a little weird. So we have to like assume that their biology has a consistency to it, that they do things a certain way. It was established in the first movie that it takes X number of days for the gestation to happen, and then also established that they go from the chest burster to the full size body quickly. So you can use those both going forward.
The idea is that we don't want it to get to the point where the egg should just launch the fucking alien. You want it to be that the parasite requires the elements within a human body, being the warmth, the whatever, you know, associated bodily fluids and functions it requires, and it needs it for a certain amount of time. And the really cool factor is that will affect its like biology. It'll be a what we see in Alien is like the human alien, and then we get in Alien 3, it's like the ox / the dog, depending on what version.
Yeah, depending on which version you watch. Yeah.
That's actually something I appreciate. I like the idea that it morphs its mutations according to the host body as possibly one of the most horrifying renditions of a parasite. And it's like, yeah, that all makes sense to me. And I think that to skip over it, first of all, like you could talk about the human stuff as you have, but I would go as far as saying it's just disrespectful. There's a set of rules that have been created here that maintain. Like, why do you think that people don't consider these movies canon? It's stuff like that. When you keep moving
break so
everything
many
away,
rules,
yeah, and it's just like, well, this is just some kind of weird version. Then and it's like, and if you have a throwaway line, which is so impossibly hard to fucking write something like this, but if you said, yeah, the Predator's got a particular queen, they've changed her mutations so that all of her eggs, implant really quick. It makes all of the aliens age real fast or grow real fast, but they're all weaker or something. And be like, fine, but like even that, it's just a weakness in the writer to give up, to recognize they need this amount of time, but they can't find any other solution. Like, what if there was frozen? You froze the queen. Why can't you have frozen alien?
I was literally just gonna say that. Why wasn't there some of the Guardians or whatever they were, the Vanguards? They could have been frozen along with her. That would have got around the need to get aliens so quickly. Now, I'm not saying necessarily they have to have the 3 days of someone being in the med bay, but you have to have a little bit more than 30 seconds. Like at least give us a few scenes.
Yeah, no, you can expect that there'll be different times depending on the person, but this is insane. And then it's funny because the Romulus outdoes this then as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we have to slow it down to a crawl and have them have somebody in the med bay and like they did in the first film, but you just giving us like not the very next scene the chest burster happens. Just give us maybe 10 minutes of non-screen time.
Yeah, we gotta move some things around. If you had some of the alien drone types frozen in a different area of the pyramid and they're released at the same time as the queen is, you have your fights already, and then you have the people impregnated before that, and then as a second act low point, you can find out all of them are out. You don't even need to see the scene where they burst. I guess if you want to throw it in, but that would be quite a horrifying realization. It's like we've just rejoined the team. In fact, that would be a pretty good way for the horror to work, for them to be in the sacrificial chamber, for them to beg for help to release them because they're locked in. And that's a bit of a goal. And then they finally get in and they realize they're all dead and all their chests are bursted and there's no sign of any aliens. It's just like, that would be kind of creepy.
Yeah, I feel like there's some horror elements that are lost in this movie, which is kind of surprising since Paul W.S. Anderson did Event Horizon, which I feel like has some really, really, really good horror elements. But yeah, so what we get now are the 3 predators. We get a good look at all of their kind of different designs, but still have a bit of similarities. I like it, man. What they have here is they arrived and they see that their weapons have been taken away. And now that they've been taken away, they're going to hunt the humans. So what ensues is what we saw in the trailer. They sort of just attack them to try and get their weapons back, but the humans retaliate. And as they're retaliating, the room shifts again, which, of course, once again, I think it's a good implementation of the mechanic. I do think that they sort of use it to a fair amount. It's not something that they just forget about randomly, which I appreciate. So we have the different teams now. What we have is Graham and Mark, if I remember his name correctly, on the left. There's the dude that's alone that'll die in just a second. And then you have Sebastian, Maxwell, Wayland, and Lex together. So these are the 3 different groups that we have. Wayland, yeah. So what happens now is that dude died. Did I not have, oh man, I didn't have the clip, but the dude that was alone died. So yeah, cannon fodder.
As the dude who's alone in horror movies tends to, or I'm not sure if we really constitute this as a horror movie, but as the guy who's alone generally does in these situations.
Yeah, he's just cannon fodder at that point. Every time you see a ton of military dudes or a ton of dudes packing heat, you know that they're just going to be cannon fodder so that you can enjoy.
The only thing that I wish they would have done, and this would have probably had to make it rated R, is they didn't use the fact the walls move to kill someone with the wall. Like they get close a couple of times.
Yeah.
That probably would have required a rating jump.
Yeah, it would have probably done like Matthew Lillard in 13 Ghosts, kind of like a nice practical effect like that.
Which 13 Ghosts we're going to be doing later this year.
Oh,
you could kind of get away with just implying and hearing screams, right? And a squelch sound.
Yeah, I mean you could get around it.
Yeah, you just have like a pool. I guess you could do like a pool of blood. Maybe I guess
just not too much blood, just very little blood.
Yeah. So between these two, between Dr. Graham and Mark, Mark falls down the hole, kind of like he did when the room was shifting. He left his other colleague just down that hole alone. Hey,
Brooksy,
Brooks,
what's up?
how you doing, man?
Gotta get you back on soon, buddy.
Yeah, Brooks, we have to do Blade Trinity.
Yeah, Blade Trinity's coming, bro. Blade Trinity's coming.
So he falls down the hole, and we get to witness a nice little gruesome death. Well, two gruesome deaths, actually, which I guess we'll talk about once I play the clip. So give me a sec.
Want a piece of me? You ugly son of a bitch! Ah! Oh, God.
He died like
two different sound effect issues there. Well, first one being, why did the alien roar? That's not the sounds they make.
Yeah, they make like screech.
It's like no, that's not. It's just going from Alien and Aliens, and that these are human aliens. What the fuck? What's the sound design on that? Why'd you give them fucking almost Predator sounds? And then secondly, the when Miller is picked up and it makes that generic stock squelch sound. It's so distracting.
This whole scene is just kind of weird because they clearly just take it almost straight out of Jurassic Park again. The clever girl scene from Jurassic Park. It's done slightly different only because there's two of them instead of one. But
it's
yeah,
so much better in Jurassic Park though.
Well,
what does this always happen whenever someone copies a scene? It's like, so what I love about Muldoon in that sequence is that he recognizes their plan and he foreshadowed it earlier in the film, and he only realizes just too late. But he's realized to a point where it feels like the raptor knows he knows, but it's just a matter of move one muscle and I'll kill you, and he knows that. And so he's just like, I'm dead. Shit. And you get that little moment where he gets to say, clever girl, because it's just like, you beat me in the
he basically accepts it.
It's fucking iconic. This is just okay.
I'm guessing that he means Dutch as in the character from the first Predator. I'm guessing here. Get Dutch in here and you have a Best Picture nomination at least. I don't think any Alien or Predator movie has ever been nominated for Best Picture. Maybe Alien, the first one. Let me see.
And
that combined with our rating, you need a different director. I'm sorry, and a different writer. There's a lot of things working against this film becoming good. Okay, it's tough.
You need a different everything. Just scrap the whole team, change everyone. Just leave the practical and CGI teams. That's it. Change everyone else. But I mean, look at the way these guys. Well, I think Mark, we don't really care about him. He wasn't really there too much in the film. But Dr. Graham Miller, the dude with two kids who we saw before, just dies unceremoniously. And then gets into a worse death later.
I was about to say, you think he's dead, and then you find out he's not dead. Okay, and he's dead. You're like, oh.
So the original choice. Alien won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, but was not nominated for anything else. So, and basically, if that one didn't get nominated for Best Picture, I don't think any of them were. Not that
Aliens,
maybe, but it's like. Generally, action movies get snubbed at award shows that aren't specific to them. Take a look.
But yeah, I just feel like the way that he dies is kind of just all right, cool. You would think that he would become that sort of character where it's he has that lighthearted ending. You remember Dark Hour when we did the We Watch man, what movie was it?
Oh, the one with Stupenzo, yeah. What the hell was that called? Also, the only Academy Award that it got nominated for, Aliens got nominated for, was Best Actress for Sigourney Weaver. What the hell was that called? I know Stupenzo was in the chat. What was it again? What was that movie?
I think it was like
He'll
Deep Sea Rising or
Deep
something like that.
Deep Impact?
No,
Or Deep Rising. There it is. Deep Rising. Yeah. Deep Impact
Rising.
is the
Yeah,
okay.
it was Deep Rising, and in Deep Rising, you have that third wheel character that survives the end of the movie. He's kind of like the comic relief character, and you know, he survives all odds at the end of the movie, and it's just he's the nice chill element. And I thought that this dude was gonna become it, but then no, they just have the face hugger.
They set up a dynamic with these two that I'm starting to wonder if maybe it got cut out. Where you, like I said, the one is overtly macho man, like I don't care about anything, I don't take shit from nothing, I got my guns, I don't care about you, I don't care about anybody but myself. And then the other guy is like, oh geez, he's like fucking Morty. He's like, oh gosh, what's happening? Are we gonna make it? I hope so. Oh, this is fun. La la la. It's like they're the perfect foils for each other in terms of personalities. But what links them is they both have sons. It's like, so what do you do with that? It's like, well, you make it so that you have payoffs that include the big guy is like, I fucking hate that I ended up with you. You're useless. You can't even shoot a gun. And then of course you have a moment where the smart one actually saves the guy with the guns at some point, and then they come to respect each other a bit more. Maybe one of them risks themselves pretty big to save the other, and then those two become super important with making something happen that affects the A plot. Right, like they find something that's going to help our main team of heroes. They reconnect them eventually, or something, and one of them maybe sacrifices themselves for the other to make sure he gets to see his sons. And maybe you could find out as a twist, the guy with the guns, he only had a son and he died, and that's part of him so jaded, you know, and that he's like, you got to go because you got someone to get back to, that sort of thing. It's the simplest shit. It'll cost you like maybe 3 minutes in total to set all of that up if you pepper it through the film, but instead you killed him, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Spider-Man 3 situation where they just have too many elements, but they don't really remove any of the elements, so you just have half of an element in the movie instead of you know, just removing it and just focusing on something else. So it's kind of weird. It's really annoying to me because it just goes nowhere, which I don't know, man. I hate because they do everything. You know, they set it up, but they just destroy it in less than in the span of literally 2 minutes.
And unfortunately,
that's what I
we
hate
get
the most.
many examples of that in this film. Many examples of, oh, that's it with that. Okay, fine.
And so yeah, so they both die, and the other team where Maxwell Stafford is leading, they get attacked by the Predator, and this is where they kind of wrap him around, man. Give him the Resident Evil treatment.
Yeah, this guy just does not allowed to. He's not allowed to not be cubed. That's all he
gets cubed and everything. It's horrible. Well, I guess this would be cuboided, right? Because it would go through as whatever that means. Anyway, because I was going to bring up that this is a really fucking horrifying way to go. He has to, because he does get him. I think they impale him to sort of imply he doesn't have to get cubed, but he's getting cubed still. And to be honest, if you're getting stabbed through the gut while you're getting cubed, you're probably dying from the cubing, not the gut stab.
Yeah, you can feel it slowly just crushing and slicing through.
There's a shot where he's just like fucking screaming while the blood is pouring out of him, and it's just like, ugh.
There it is.
I will say, the net might be my favorite Predator weapon. It's so fucking cool as an idea.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I think my favorite is probably the disc. Specifically the one that he has in this one that's kind of like a shuriken. I always really like this one. The one from Predator 2 is cool too, but I just think that the design is a little too frisbee for me. Like how but they have just such cool tech. Like and
that's why I love them.
Yeah.
And to have tribalistic aesthetics combined with hyper high tech, and they do it deliberately because it's the fucking style they love, and they get to choose and vary it all. You almost want to immediately be like, can I be a Predator? I want to be a Predator. Let me join.
Rambling PJ likes the net. Melvin deeply. I'm guessing he means the
nuke.
wrist nuke. I'm guessing is what he means.
It's a fair one. It does its job, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, yikes. The net would be a horrendous way to go.
Yeah, I guess the only thing you could just hope is that when he gets stabbed in the gut, that he goes into shock and doesn't feel the rest of this. That's the best way. Apparently, Heathen Monk likes the retractable spear, which I have a question about later on, but I might as well pose it now so that way.
Yeah,
so
what is it?
They show that the net gets destroyed by the acid blood. Same thing with the claws.
Yes.
But multiple times they use the spear on xenomorphs, and that doesn't get melted somehow.
So this is a mistake as far as I'm concerned, because why the fuck wouldn't they make their armor out of the stuff the spear is made of if it's protecting them against the acid, you idiot?
That's true.
Come on, Predators, what are you doing? Yeah, you know for a fact they didn't want to melt the shuriken, the throwing what's that called? Smart disc, right?
Smart disc, yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't want to melt the smart disc or the spear, so they just, they're just immune. It's like, okay.
The smart disc I can at least almost kind of justify because it's spinning. It might throw the acid off of it, kind of thing, faster than it can melt.
If it cuts through, that thing is getting melted. What I understand is exactly what probably happened, which is we can't have those things melt. We use them more than once. It's like, yeah, okay. Like they just want to fuck it, move on.
We got a couple of votes for the wrist blades here as well.
Yeah, the wrist blades are iconic as well.
Nokia apparently made the spear. I don't know about you guys. Have either of you ever watched when like a giant hydraulic breaks things on YouTube?
Yes.
My favorite is somebody took one of those. They put a Nokia phone in there, and they rigged the hydraulic to do this, but it broke the hydraulic. It was one of my favorite of all time.
That's a good marketing tactic.
Much like Terminator, I have a big issue with the Predator ever picking someone up and then they live. He picks up the friendo guy.
Sebastian.
I'm just like, yeah, it's just like, you're dead. It's over. He's picked you up. You're fucked. He's gonna break your neck. And you just wonder, like, so what's the Predator doing here? It's like, well, they're wiping out all the humans because the humans are fucking around. So what is going on? Remember he pushed the other two away? It's just like, if ever I'm fucking trying to make a scene like this work, I'm not gonna have these people, a Predator or Terminator or even Alien or anything. Don't throw people away. It's like the worst shit, man.
Yeah, I feel like him being, an apex hunter, and it's like he would have directly killed you. If you're in the way, he would have killed you. It kind of feels just like plot armor at this point. And even him, Sebastian, you think that he'd become kind of relevant towards the end, but no, just like that.
Yeah, to give him this kind of plot armor, and then to just have him die. You're like, okay. You know, one weird thing I do kind of like about this, I'd be curious who got it to happen, but they have that shot you were showing it earlier, the net going into the gun, and they've done the work to show the net is cutting into the gun fully, and then they even have a shot of it cutting into the light, like attachment on the gun, and it fries the bulb. It's like, that's cool that you guys did that.
Yeah, it's nice little details to just show you how powerful this thing is, and plus it's something that you could probably make in real life, because what it does is just that it just twists the net on both sides, and so since the net twists, that's how it just gets you. So it's something that is approachable in reality. It just needs to be more compact, pretty much. But it is
give us a few decades and we'll make it for sure.
Yeah, just leave it to like the Mythbusters or something. They'll probably fix it.
This is actually a good point from Road Life Productions. I'll sum it up real quick. But basically, there's no reason to kill the people above the surface because they weren't involved with the actual taking of the guns. They're just kind of chilling out there. They could have easily stuck past them.
The humans are just ruining the hunt right now. That's why they're trying to kill them, I think. And I get that. And I think it's a decent enough idea right now for what this film is to get these sorts of payoffs. But this sequence, because it's sort of in the place you are right now, some of the fucking, to this day, this is one of the things that annoyed me when I first saw the film. If you notice it, you can't not notice it. So he kills the guy with the spear, and then he's holding Sebastian, and you get several shots of it. Then we're shown Lex picks up the pickaxe, gets kicked, is recovering from it, realizing the Predator is there. The alien's coming down slowly. Oh, so horrifying. It's like, so this is a good 30 seconds of you just holding Sebastian?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? looking at him. Like, what's going on? Like, why isn't his head should be separated from his torso by now? What are you doing?
He's bathing in the fear of his enemy. That's what he's trying to do.
As editing goes, they needed to switch a few things around. It needed to be she's kicked by the predator, and then we show him executing guy with the net on him, and then we cut back to her with the alien coming down, because the timing is so. They have that little shot where she even looks at him and he's just strangling Sebastian for like a whole minute. It's a predator. He should be dead.
At minimum, he should be like unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't say that because one-handed chokes are not usually effective, but when the hand is big enough to completely wrap around a basketball, it is. So it's like,
dude, someone in chat said if it was a playful predator, I could
yeah,
sort of
I highlighted
it
that as a joke.
Well, no. I was going to say this one is established as pretty aggressive, so obviously it doesn't quite work for this. But I quite like that idea. Not necessarily a Joker predator, but one that is clearly and overtly fucked with its prey. That could be really fun.
Yeah. And so I guess this is going to be the first proper showdown between the xenomorphs and the predators. So let me play the clip. It's a bit of a long clip, but we'll talk about it when it's over. Motherfucker whooped his ass, dude.
I just love that because he hits his head on 3 different pillars.
So, interestingly, I wouldn't mind see if we get you guys' input as well on this. You know the shot with the iconic almost movie poster shot of putting their faces together. If you can get that up a second, I am quite fond of the way the alien looks on that
in the video.
side
I
shot.
could probably pull up
the video.
Yeah, hold on.
Like it looks there's something about the Romulus one that made me realize what I quite liked about this one that I never thought of. If I can find that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like the alien design itself in this movie is really it's
pretty
really
certain
good.
it's this one. Let me pull it up in full proper as best I can. Hopefully it saves as a JPEG. No, it doesn't. Of course, why would it? Okay, I'll just share the screen rant.
No, don't worry, I can share my screen, dude.
It's good. Okay, you got it? Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, Google has officially like ruined my life. Nothing gets saved in JPEG anymore. It's like WebQ or stupid AVIV bullshit. Like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, there you go. This is it, I guess.
So, this is such a tiny thing, but if you pull up that image as well, that's the Romulus, or one of the Romulus posters, but that's definitely representative of what the alien looks like in the film. Specifically, the bands of, I guess, what you'd call flesh that connects the bottom and top parts of the mouth. I really love in the AvP and I think classic design of the alien, they're quite diagonally jaggedy, sort of. They look kind of horrifying and mutated, and something's up with it. The Alien Romulus one looks kind of clean and sort of rubbery. Would you be like, well, it is rubber? And I'm like, no. I mean, like, this looks fleshy and alienish to me in AvP, while the Romulus one looks more. I don't know if you can pull it up to show people. It's just that it's I'm not as fond of the specifically those flesh bands. There's other things I like about the design of the the conversation of what makes a good and bad alien would go on forever, but it's just that was just one thing I noticed about the change that they made in Romulus, where those bands go directly down. They're like all vertical instead of diagonal, and I think the diagonal design looks way better.
Let me pull it up. Yeah, I understand what you mean about the design in Romulus. I feel like it's very it's clean. It's surgical, you know. And even
Yeah.
just compared to the one that I have, on screen right now, it's like even this one looks really, really good. Here's one for Romulus. These are kind of how they look.
Oh, I threw a link in the chat if you want to get that up. That's a really good sort of
That one.
image to show the bands between the jaws, or the jaw.
Oh, nice. Let me pull this one up.
Just to answer the question while you're doing that, the smooth head, Stupenzo said he prefers the smooth head version. I actually really like the ones that have like the ribbing in the in Aliens, like the warriors or whatever, where it like looks almost like it's like a helmet rather than just
This is what's so weird for me, is that I don't think I'm that picky with alien designs, because I like to believe that there's changes even between humans of what would change the way an alien looks. But I don't know what it was about seeing these two together. Because I don't know if you were here, Dark Hour, but I was just talking about the strings of flesh that connect.
I was here.
Yeah, it's just that this gave me a distinct impression of it being a created prop, like an actual. Because as was mentioned, it feels too clean, too sterile almost, and very.
It does look like production. It looks like someone just melted some rubber and then opened the jaws, and that's
this specific one reminds me of Jonah Hex. Like if you remember, like if you ever read of Jonah Hex or saw the bad movie, the like way that he has like the scarring. Yeah, it reminds me of that.
Yeah, just the comparison between that and the other one. Wait, let me pull it back up real quick. Oh, wait. Yeah, between
the discussion on what makes a good and bad alien design has raged on since the very first film came out, and like I said, I tend to find myself not being that picky. I quite like a lot of. I love the alien in general, as long as you maintain the biomechanical nature of it, right? Which a lot of people felt Aliens actually ruined, depending on your preference.
Yeah, just look at the difference in the fleshiness, man. Someone in the chat said it looks more like fishnets.
It's funny. It's like you'd be like, "What do you mean AvP is like the one that's being compared favorably right now?" I'd be like, "I don't know. I just think that looks better than the Romulus alien." There, I said
it.
Apparently, I've made so people can't unsee the Jonah Hex cheeks now.
And yeah, man, I really like the shot of the alien, just the way it looks so animalistic, creeping up on the wall, just waiting to attack. I love it.
They clearly did put the money that they put into the props department and the effects clearly went to it. It wasn't just like an afterthought, which is good.
Oh yeah. Like this is
CGI. This is how an alien would get the upper hand on a predator. The predator, which is this is forgivable to me. It's what happens to the second one. It's the sort of the broad of it, because this predator is getting too into a sort of a forgiveness I give the film of that both of the worst predators have been overly aggressive and not very stealthy in the first 10 minutes of this fighting part. And you could be like, yeah, the predators are too stupid. And it's like, I guess they're trying to. It's like a young buck who thinks he's fucking amazing, coming in with overpowered gear and just doing whatever he wants, and then getting killed because he was being a bit stupid. It's like, do you want to see a predator being like that? It's like, I think maybe we could do with one, but not two, and then losing both of them to one alien. That to me felt very like, okay, that shit fucking happened. That was insane. Like, especially because this alien, I feel like he cheats getting out of that net. That felt bullshit to me.
Oh yeah, it was absolute bullshit.
How the fuck do you make it so the spear and the smart disc are immune to the acid, but the fucking net that's designed to cut into them like fully extensively isn't? You stupid mother. But anyway, I like the effect of the tail coming around behind him on the the camo, and then I like that it picks him up to drive his head toward him to be able to do the killing blow, but it also sets up a pretty iconic bit of imagery that's not like necessarily that fantastic. It's not in terms of an idea, but it's perfect for their poster and for the nature of coming through on Alien versus Predator. Though I wonder if this undermines it a little bit in that the first interaction they properly have with these two is the alien just kills him instantly.
Yeah, that's true. Because I don't know. They kind of it's weird to explain.
Hey, Tombe.
Hey, Tomby. Oh,
Oh, you were. So it stands for the uninspired hour or so.
Yep.
We've never gone under an hour though, so it's it was heavily inspired by the concept of the name of EFAP. So I wanted it to be a catchy, funny sounding word that pretty much meant nothing to do with what it was implying.
Yeah, plus it managed to incorporate our two names, so it was cool.
That was cool too. We were able to incorporate both of them.
Oh wow, thank you, Gord. The uninspired hour of shame.
I mean that could be a future show.
Ring the bell every hour, dude. Shame.
Can you just go back real quick to the image of that one? So I've never seen this image like still like this. This is a really cool shot. Like I've never known
denying that. I'm a big Alien fan. I just don't like you got a fucking double kill. What the hell?
No, I'm not. It's just I've never. So this scene in the actual movie is pretty quick. He just kind of screams and looks up, and it's, but as a still frame, this is very. This could have been a poster itself, right here.
This basically just looks like concept art, you know?
Yeah, it just looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's metal as fuck.
It really is. It really is.
And yeah, so he gets 2 kills, and now this is just I don't even understand this dude. Like Waylon just decides to throw his life away, I guess.
It's like I'm gonna use my inhaler to create a flamethrower. I don't really know what. Don't you turn your back on me?
Yeah, he just really wanted to die.
I don't know what to say about this. It's like an awkward, fumbled, quickly done ending to his story.
Yeah, it's like they just needed to get everyone to start dying quickly, and they didn't really pay any attention to what they were trying to do for the characters. Which, I mean, to me, the way that he dies, it kind of just makes the earlier scene that he had with Lex Woods just kind of get overlooked.
This is not interesting. It really feels like someone took over for the second act and was like, "What have I got to do?" Is like kill everyone. Like, sure. And then they didn't ask what these characters were or what they cared about what they do, because I don't see what this has to do with anything we knew about him. It's like, gosh darn it, people will remember me because I'm going to flamethrower this alien and then he kills me. You're like,
and no one's going to remember that because it's immediately forgotten by even us.
Well, and problem for me is that it doesn't truly have a good effect on much of anything. They were already kind of away. He catches up to him anyway as well. Like it doesn't make enough of a difference, I think. And I don't, to be honest with you guys, I don't buy a creature threatening you with a weapon that a predator goes, "Wait, you have cancer. I don't need to kill you." It's like, what are you doing? What?
Well, that's always been established within the predator lore, is that they tend not to view it as a good kill if it's generally a woman.
Inferior,
generally a woman has no means of defending itself or has some sort of internal issue, whether it be a disease or a disability.
I think that needs work. If this is accurate to that, as far as I'm concerned, that's dumb as fuck, because anybody with cancer can pick up a gun. Like the fact that he's already he tried to hurt the predator significantly, obviously failed, but that to me signs your death warrant for a predator. It's like you attacked me, you tried to kill me.
So it's sort of established in this way. And if you remember in Predator 2, he runs into the kid in the graveyard and he thinks he's holding a gun, so he's about to kill him, but he realizes it's not a real gun and he's not a threat. But I'm saying, like, they assessed the situation and he deemed him not a threat anymore because he didn't think he had a weapon. This is a very makeshift weapon.
I don't believe for a second the Predator would not be able to recognize that as a weapon. It's sharp. It's designed to cut. Like the gun the kid had was plastic / wasn't. I can believe a predator recognizes the difference, especially the young version of the species it's hunting. Very likely wouldn't have access to that kind of weaponry anyway. And then pregnant women, I can totally buy it sparing them as well. Well, yeah, this one I don't.
You need to keep the hunt going. That's
This one, like, the idea, take you have two guys, both of them are shooting at you, one of them has cancer, and it's like, well, it's dishonorable to kill the cancer one. It's like, no, it doesn't make a fucking difference at that point to a predator, as far as I'm concerned. He attacked you, tried to kill you. He's trying to fight you as much as Billy was. And as much as Billy was a much better fucking fight, obviously, he still wasn't going to be a match for Predator. That was kind of the point.
And we didn't even see Billy's fight. We know that it's a better one.
Yeah, but my point here is just that the Predator should have... I think it could even make for a better thing if we maybe rewrite it such that the Predator kills him and it's kind of something Wayland is happy to have happen as opposed to just coughing his lungs out in the corner or something. Like to be killed by a Predator.
Yeah, I really think that this kill also comes down to he's really pissed off that his hair just got singed. He's just like, hey, motherfucker, you know how long it takes to fix these dreads?
And I'm totally on board with giving room for Predators to have a baseline of the sport aspect, the honor aspect, but that some of them are different in terms of just you bore me or I don't care about you, or some that are like I will absolutely honor any creature's interest in battling me. You know, like I could see a spectrum of different kinds of Predators, different characters. But yeah, this guy, he's trying to get his fucking weapons back. This old dude just got in the way, and then he takes the time to analyze his biology to discover he has cancer to then spare him. No, just break his neck and move on. He tried to kill you.
That'll be way simpler. And it's like, it's weird because when you watch something like Prey does that pretty well, where they're just like, yeah, this predator will just kill you and move on. But then it fails somewhere like here, which is kind of weird. Yeah, it's interesting to see how in different Predator iterations throughout the years, we have a ton of good elements and a ton of bad elements, but we never managed to find just the balance in making a good movie with only the good elements.
Yeah,
it's it's really annoying that like everything has been laid out for what 2 decades at this point, but they just can't figure it out again. I don't know, man, but I do think the a historical route would be the way to go. Setting Predator, you know, in a different time period. I think that's the best way to go for the franchise. Because it's kind of like those one and done concepts. After the second movie, it's just stretching it too thin. That's kind of what happened to it's kind of what happened to Alien. It's kind of what happened to Terminator. It's what happened to a lot of other franchises. But yeah,
this sequence, by the way, where he gets killed, I always thought the extendo wrist blades were kind of funny in terms of how long they get, to the point where it's almost like parody levels in terms of how long they get.
Yeah, it's like it's basically they're like 4 feet long.
It's like another arm, a whole other arm. Like, all right, calm down.
The only thing is that they're metal, and they established this in Predator 2. The metal that they use is extremely light. It's it's like lighter than titanium. It's, you know, so even if it was 4 feet long, it actually probably wouldn't weigh that much. It doesn't make it look any less ridiculous, though.
So
there are 2 cuts of this movie, right?
Yeah, there's the normal theatrical, and then there's the unrated version.
Yeah, it doesn't add a crazy amount to the unrated version.
Because I was just watching this and I was like, wait, where's the scene gone? Because I guess I'm more used to the unrated one. When he stabs Wayland, there's a shot of Lance Henriksen like screaming in pain, but they take that off screen in this version that I've got. You get the right one.
Yeah. Are you watching the one that's like the one I watched was through Hulu. I don't know if that's what you're watching it through, but
I think I have both. I just got to sort my files out.
Yeah, if I can, when I have to stream, when I have to watch something for this, if I can just get it the streaming version, I will, because a lot of times my DVDs are put away somewhere, so I'd have to like go and break out one of like 17 boxes and try to figure out which one it's in. If I don't need to do that, I don't want to.
Predators in Edo, Japan, baby. Yeah, I could see Predators in Japan. Imagine Predators set medieval times. I guess that would just be a great adaptation of like Berserk or something.
That seems to be all anyone ever talks about, is where we put the Predator, as opposed to the focus, of course, being we need people who know how to fucking write for Predators.
I want Weekend at Predators. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, but with a dead Predator instead. That's what I want. They just keep turning him invisible every so often. He's not here, I swear.
But yeah, people don't really like. I think it's more of the novelty of having the Predator in this specific timeline fighting this specific. I mean, you with these specific weapon sets that you have to abide by because of the time constraints. So I think the novelty of that just surpasses the want for them to hire actual writers to be able to tell the story. So that's why we end up with a ton of shit. But yeah, so at this point, Lex Woods and Sebastian escape after the room shifts once more, and the Predator is left fighting the remaining xenomorph. And I do love the way that he destroys this one with the blade, and then he just takes out the xenomorph, clean cut decapitation.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just.
We need to stack up some fucking W's on the Predator side of this film at this point.
And I love it. Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It's like he chops the face hugger and he chops the alien. But the thing about the face hugger shot, I don't know if you showed it. Yeah, that should have splashed the fuck out of it with acid.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Even before when the Predator dies right in front of Lex Woods, because the xenomorph stabs him and the blood would spatter on her as well, but like nothing spatters on her. It's just there. It's weird. That stuff like that kind of breaks my immersion just a bit. Yeah, Denis Villeneuve doing a Predator movie in the Wild Wild West. That would be pretty cool.
Is he
Man,
suited Predator? Maybe, I don't know. What about his films makes you think he would be good for Predator? It's just,
I just want Denis Villeneuve to do every movie.
Fair enough.
Dude, yeah, you give him something like, I don't know, I feel like Sicario or something like that. Like would be up his resume and be like, yeah, fuck it. You see, I made Sicario. I can make a Predator movie.
Honestly,
like, yeah.
I think the best Predator movie, the best thing that they could do would be to go back, look at that, the general storyline of Concrete Jungle, the game for PS2. Not necessarily,
yeah, it's good shit.
And use that where like there's a failed Predator. So if you've never played the game, whether it be, I don't know if you have Uninspired, clearly Mauler has, or anybody out in the chat. There's a Predator. He fails his mission on Earth. He gets his gear kind of left behind, and humans start reverse engineering it, and so he has to hunt down and get all of his gear, his tech back. But now, like, the humans have stealth technology, and they have plasma casters and all this stuff.
Ooh.
And kind of turning him into, like, I think that's one route they could possibly go. Because at this point,
oh, dude, absolutely, making a Predator the fucking protagonist is something they don't have the balls to do, but they should.
Yeah, that's
one of the only movie that almost does it is fucking Requiem.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, this sort of. I mean, this you could argue that from this point forward, he's the protagonist of this one. So.
Arguably, sort of, but yeah, obviously, what we're envisioning would be an adaptation of that game to the point where you're watching him just do everything. The thing is, Hollywood would never go for that shit because there's like no dialogue from the main character. The main character is non-human, and the story is him trying to subvert humans from having certain technology that I guess maybe they would wonder, like, this doesn't seem like a very pro-human story.
That's right up Hollywood's alley. Then that's like. Humans suck. Aliens are better at everything than we do. We would be better giving the planet to them.
Dude, that was a better like open world game than Star Wars Outlaws was.
It's unfortunate that that's one of those ones. Like a lot of the PS2 games, just they don't emulate very well. Like those ones for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about PS2 specifically. It doesn't emulate that great.
So after killing the alien, what he does is he cuts off he cuts off a part of the alien's finger, and he
like rips off an arm of it.
Yeah, and he uses the acid blood to mark himself, because I guess that means that he's passed the trial. He's done the rite of passage, and he gets crept up on by a face hugger.
It seems so fucking absolutely a sequel setup that they didn't think further about. It's like, first of all, you just established that he can see this shit coming a mile away with both the face huggers and the aliens. Somehow get surprised by this. Secondly, you just showed the two of them watching him, and they turn away the moment he gets a face hugger put on. It's like, okay,
yep.
It's such a like, yeah, we want another one. All right, let us have another one.
The best Predator movie would be making classic Predator pathetic. A pathetic loser was given up on predating. He just goes to work. He just goes to work for like, you know, a local restaurant. He's just like, yeah, I'm a busboy now.
Yeah, the history of the Predator from Predator is that his wife hates him. He's a drug. His children are bad to do because he doesn't pay to support them in any way, shape, or form. And he actually like broke into a ship, crash landed on Earth, and just decided I'll kill some people in a jungle. Fuck it, that'll improve it.
I think one of the main problems with the Predator is that as soon as in the first one, as soon as he was beaten, it loses a lot of mystique. They were able to kind of recreate it with the second one, but ever since then, that was like the Predator. They tried to do that crazy up the stakes thing by making him a video game character.
Yeah, they always try and do it, make like the super mega insane Predator. You know.
Yeah, and it's just after a while, the concept has run its course.
You know, like something that'll never happen, but would be really cool if it did, would be like a horror movie where it has no indication it's anything to do with Predator, but there is a creature killing people. And then, you know, we get an investigator to try and follow these series of crimes that are in this relatively localized place. And you know, halfway through the movie, it is revealed through your standard format that it is a Predator. But like they would just, something like that never is going to happen, because the whole point of Predator as an IP for any IP is to use the IP to market it. Like,
yeah,
they could have done something similar to that with Prey, with the fact that the name wasn't Predator.
Yeah.
You could have easily spun it in that there's something in the jungle hunting people, and it's because it's all like Native Americans from like what is it, the 1600s at that point. That like it could have been any animal, and then it could have been a surprise. But
oh, dude, someone said we could add Predator hunting another Predator to change things up. Great idea. That's actually what happens in the Predator, and it was horrific. Yeah. But obviously, you can do that well. It could be really cool. It's surprising how many ideas have actually been tried, but they're just so awful, the executions.
There was another AvP game. It was like more of a RTS top-down style one. And it had this. I didn't really play this one that much, but it had a scenario where the Predator that you played as had to go and hunt literally the unhuntable creature of their galaxy, and you had to capture 3 of them. It was like the highest level like test that they could do in their culture. And like that's something you could do. Just get humans out of the movie in a way is another way you could do it, and have them do stuff on other planets. It's unfortunately no Hollywood studio will ever go for that.
Yeah. I feel like it's a shame to see where the Predator IP is going. Do you guys think that the Predator IP is dead completely?
I don't think any IP is ever fully dead.
Well, okay, at least on proper big indefinite hiatus, you know, the same way you know for sure that the Exorcist franchise is probably gone like on an indefinite hiatus because of how bad the last movie flopped, you know, because Prey wasn't really a huge success commercially. It was more a critical success.
Well, it was released on Hulu, so it wasn't it couldn't have really been a commercial success from that standpoint.
And plus, it's something that Fox had backed up, you know, in their catalog for a while, since, you know, 2020. So it's not really like it was a huge loss for them releasing that movie. So I don't know if they ever count on making a sequel to that or a spin-off of the Predator franchise.
My best guess would be that if anything, they're going to eventually try to reboot it, like try to redo the original, and it just won't work. I mean, who would they even have to play the Arnold character? Who would really fit that role? Like Chris Hemsworth?
They'll take what's his name? The dude that plays Jack Reacher.
Oh, Alan
Richardson.
Yeah, Richardson.
Yeah. That's probably who they'd pick to
play. Like, they'd just be like, they would just put out a casting call. Guy with huge muscles, please show up. We need you.
So we get a bit of a lore drop right now. Big lore drop with the flashback, because Sebastian is reading the hieroglyphs that are on the pyramid, and it tells us the story of they did announce a Prey sequel. Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's on the way. Sorry, I missed that. I was actually going to say, is it right if I go to the loo quickly? I'll be right back.
It's okay.
No, dude, I feel like they could do a cool Victorian era Predator movie.
Let's see. Do we have any super chats? Well, I still want to save that one from I Am Andro for later, because we're going to talk about like possible situations. But here, let's do this one.
Mikey Gusler for $5. Thank you, Mikey. James Cameron's Avatar probably wouldn't have worked or looked good with just practical effects. That is for sure. I love James Cameron. This is something that I discuss with Waylon Basifas, who's one of our moderators. James Cameron, the issue that he has nowadays is the fact that he cannot really concentrate on making a normal live action film because he's obsessed with the advancements of CG technology. So it's like getting a great mix of live action and CG, the way that Cameron used to do for Terminator. Sorry, for Terminator, I don't think that we're ever gonna get that good mix nowadays from him. Which
he's
I feel
always
like
been obsessed with pushing. He's always been obsessed with pushing the boundaries, like going back as far as he can. His issue is that he's become obsessed with his own legend for the most part of being the guy who does that. It's not about necessarily. It almost comes at the detriment of the film's quality. For him to try and make his mark on the effects side of things.
Yeah, J. Jameson says it best. It's kind of like a tech demo for him, and that's what it feels like. Most times, it feels like you're watching a tech demo and that you're not watching an actual proper Cameron film, which is kind of annoying. You know, I feel like if James Cameron came out and did a proper full live action movie right now, kind of like True Lies, where it's mostly practical effects, it's mostly a grounded story with minimal use of CGI, I think that James Cameron would be back on like proper on top, you know, because the James Cameron of today isn't the same one as yesterday, but you know, he's kind of like a lesser version. It's annoying.
Yeah, I think there's a certain point where directors get past and they're just not really able to come back to who they were. It seems to happen to all of them. You know, like we've seen it with Ridley Scott, you know, even to an extent, Martin Scorsese has gone.
No, for sure, Martin Scorsese. Dude.
I mean, he was always a little artsy fartsy to begin with, but he's gone so far that direction now. But I'm trying to think of others that, you know, Steven Spielberg is another one because you get to a point where it's just not.
Yeah, Spielberg is kind of just doing his own stuff. Like he's kind of just making his the projects that he's always wanted to make.
Well, he was the executive producer on Transformers 1, which I actually saw yesterday. I'll be talking about it on B-Sub tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, Transformers is oh wait, Transformers 1, like the new Transformers?
Yeah, I got an advanced screening of it, so I'll be talking about it tomorrow. I don't want to bog this one down with it. We're already like, you know.
Yeah, no worries, man.
We're already have gone off on several tangents that had very little to do with the movie. So,
but yeah, I wanted to bring up this chat since we're gonna be talking about it in the flashback in just a second. So the Yatwa, I always forget how you pronounce the Predators.
I've never known how to pronounce. I've never heard it pronounced. I've only ever read it. That's why I never try to.
Yeah, all right. So the Yatwa, I guess that's what I would call it. Actually have a very well-established backstory. This is all part of the trial process, which is why they were waiting at the end of the battle, at the end for the battle to end. They do it all over the world. Yep. I don't know if the backstory that they have is the same one that they give in this movie, in terms of like the proper Predator lore. Because in this one, what they say is that every 100 years they come to Earth. They require a sacrifice to birth the xenomorphs, and they fight with the xenomorphs to prove their worth. That's just pretty much it, like standard.
You would think if it's every 100 years, though, there would be a lot more that need to take the test.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Like 3 of them every 100 years. Like that seems like a very low number.
There, Neil says, I still cannot fathom James Cameron was inspired by Princess Mononoke for Avatar. The former is still my favorite animated film and missed the point of that film, especially with writing. You see, I didn't even know that Avatar was inspired by Princess Mononoke.
James Cameron gets inspired by some weird... Oh, Mauler's back. I didn't notice.
Howdy.
James Cameron gets inspired by some weird stuff. Like the inspiration for Terminator was he was really sick and had like a dream about a skull in fire and was like, yep, that's about Robots taking over the world in the future, right there. That's what that's about.
Didn't James Cameron produce the Alita Battle Angel movie not too long ago?
Yeah, I think so.
He was.
He also had a hand. He also what is the reason why the Predators have the mandibles. That's he was on a plane with Stan Winston when it was being designed, and he kind of just was like, "Hey, that would look really cool with mandibles," and that just became standard.
Yep, that's true, man. So lore drop, man. The lore drop that we get here is in this little flashback. So the Predators helped them construct all the pyramids and stuff, and every 100 years they would come back and require sacrifices to birth xenomorphs, for which they would use to fight and prove their worth. And this is that little clip that we had at the end with thousands or hundreds of thousands of xenomorphs being there. And of course, it's established that the Predators will not leave any traces of people alive if push comes to shove.
Oh, this was part of the reasons why I assumed it was saying it didn't happen, was because that device would wipe out all the structures as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's kind of just maybe an exaggeratory story, which I can be down with. Now we finally meet back with Dr. Gray Miller, and man, thinking he was dead, he just gets a horrible death where all the facehuggers hatch, and they're after him. So man, that just really, really kind of sucks.
You know what's a bit odd about it? It almost has a comedic beat to it.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you used all your bullets on that one, or almost all of them, but there's loads more. Like, okay, he was a nice person. He didn't deserve this, but like,
yeah, they definitely don't play this the right way. He should have been one that was taken. His death was taken a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, it could have been like the emotional weight of the story having this guy die, because of the fact that at the beginning of the movie he was telling everyone that he had 2 kids. He was shoving it in everyone's faces. So it's like, this is the family man that everyone loves. He gets along with everyone. He's even also the reason why Lex Woods comes back. So it would be fitting to give him a proper death, at least maybe in front.
I mean, she would probably want to kill him at this point. She'd be like, "You son of a bitch! Yeah. I was gonna leave." I can only imagine, like so. The only way they could have made that more comedic is if he tried to stop the as he ran out of bullets. He he notices the other ones coming out of the egg, and he pulls out the picture but I have kids. That's the only way that they could have made it more comedic than they played it off.
It would have been like a scary movie version of Alien.
Well, I was more thinking of the scene from The Mummy where he pulls out all the religious,
Benny.
I want to do that one eventually on here.
Oh yeah, and so Lex and Sebastian continue going through, and they encounter the alien, but of course they have to run away, and they run away in this bridge that just collapses, and so while it collapses, Lex falls, but Sebastian comes to save her, and while he saves her, he gets got, and that is the end of Sebastian, basically.
Which feels like a waste, but all right.
Yeah,
don't worry, we'll find out he makes it, and then he doesn't.
It just pops out of nowhere too. It's like, all right, cool, I guess. It also just proves that the xenomorphs are toying with their food, because
Ethan Monk says it best. Rolls of 1. Guess I'll die.
Yeah. It also shows that the xenomorphs, they like kind of playing with their prey, because why not just come back and kill Lex at the same time? But nope, they just drag him off, and then they leave her to explore and enjoy for the movie to happen.
There is actually an aspect to them. I don't know if it's intentionally done throughout these movies, throughout the Alien films, but there are a lot of points where the aliens almost feel like they're just toying with people, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering the fact they're like a colony of essentially giant bugs. So you would think that they would be very focus driven, but there are a lot of instances where it almost seems like they're toying with people.
So while she's exploring and trying to find her way around, she encounters the Predator. And so basically the goal that her and Sebastian had was that they had to give the Predator his weapon back so that they could team up and fight the Xenomorphs, which of course she tries to do just as they are attacked by another Xenomorph. And they do manage to kill it. But in the meantime, we get a glimpse of the Queen, who is getting freed by her. Someone said they behave kind of feline, like the Xenomorphs behave.
Yeah, I'm
kind
guessing. I don't remember one of us saying that. Maybe it was somebody in the chat said that.
Oh, yeah. All right. So we do get our glimpse of the Queen, and the Queen is kind of calling off her Xenomorph. I think it's at this part where she kind of calls them off to go back to her. And during that time, the Predator and Lex bond over some Xenomorph autopsy, I guess. Some makeshift Xenomorph weapons, I guess you could call it. Because he ends up forging her a Xenomorph tail sword.
Spear.
Yeah, spear.
They are drawing on the notion that there could be, some level of camaraderie or connection between any given human and predator. Predator 2 kind of introduces that concept. Even Predator 1 could imply it's possible. So like this, because this was, if I remember at the time, some people did not like this at all, just in concept, the team up.
Well, I mean, she does kill a Xenomorph, which is like, I guess, since you have to kill for you to be proven, she has proven herself to the Predator, so I could see it like working.
I think that you can talk about the right and reasons why it's relatively justified. It's just, I think, kind of makes the Predator a little less cool. I think that's what people find to be a bit compelling about it. I wonder if this would have played much better if like Arnie were in the film and this had happened. Just because like maybe there's so many ways to try and write something like this. I don't know if I would risk it. It's a little. I could totally see it pulling so many people out of the film to have a Predator be like, let's team up, you man. It's like
I'm trying to remember how I felt when because I was right in that sweet spot of that like 15, 16-year-old who probably would have like grown real hard at this. But like as an adult now, it seems silly, but I can at least put the pieces together. Up to this point, she's proven her worth. We've already said that. And also on top of that, he could kind of use her, even if she's just a distraction for them, for him to make his to achieve his goal better. There's really no negative here for him to be like, here's a shitty, really low tech spear and a helmet and this like skull shield that you are not really going to be able to block anything with because it doesn't cover any of your body. Like it really doesn't help. It doesn't really hurt him at all. It's not like he gives away any of his tech.
I mean, I was okay with it. I just think that it's kind of weird the way that they depict him, the camaraderie that he has with her, like running side by side and stuff. That I understand that it kind of makes the Predator look a bit feel a bit uncool. But other than that, I think that it's okay because she proves her worth to him. So, but I do think it's kind of stupid that they still have to go head on head against an alien together. It's like, I don't know, man. I feel like the Predator could do it by himself, but he can't. So we go back to the Queen, who is now freed because the Xenomorph she commanded them to basically.
This is a design flaw,
yeah,
to say the least. That I don't buy at all that this wouldn't have happened the first and every single time, but they would obviously make the restraints for the Queen out of non-meltable fucking metal.
It's kind of dumb. I don't think. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe something that could to defend it, but no, you just can't defend it. It's stupid. They know the risks, and especially the fact that they know that she can kind of control the other Xenomorphs to do her bidding. So, yeah.
I know that this is about the previous slide. This is about the previous slide, but yeah, he's quite. I believe he's standing at this point. So yeah, he's probably only about. And to say this is funny, but No, he's a little bit more than that. He's probably about 6'4" with the helmet. Makes him probably about 6'7". Because if he stood up straight, he's probably about a foot taller than her. He's clearly hunched over looking at her, so it's taking a couple inches off the height. But I would say he's probably about, like, with the helmet, 6'7", 6'8". But Kevin Peter Hall, who played the original one, was like a legit 7-foot guy who was then wearing the helmet, and it made him even bigger looking. It made him like 7'4", you know, with like the prosthetics and the helmet.
Well, I do have some other slides in just a few where you can see her side by side with the Predator again, and you can compare like the sizes. And I do agree, they do make the Predator look kind of small whenever it's next to her.
She's 5'7", and if with that helmet, if he's about a foot over her, that would make him about 6'7", 6'8", give or take. Yeah.
And so the Queen is free. And we find Sebastian, who is dying a very, very horrible death, man.
Already implanted, done and done.
Yep. And so she decides to give him one bullet to the head. Yeah.
I kind of like this bit. The performance from her is probably the best, like, performance in the whole film. She really lets herself lose it a bit when she gets to the point of pulling the trigger. And then I like the juxtaposition of cutting from her just being emotionally completely wrecked and cutting back to the Predator just staring at her, you know, seeing what decision she's going to make.
Okay, so I just looked it up. Apparently the guy who played, first of all, the guy who played the Predators was Welsh. So that's a little. Apparently he's actually 7'1" as well, which is the same size as I don't even know that they made Welsh people that tall. But she must have been standing on a box or something for her to be even in that shot that way. Then, like she because 5'7" and 7'1", she shouldn't even be able, like, they shouldn't even be able to get her on camera with him.
Oh man. Yeah, they probably did some camera trickery. Maybe it was first perspective or something like that too. So now that the Queen is free, she's able to run around. What do you guys think about the Queen's animations in terms of her just being free and properly running around? I guess it's full. I'm sure it's fully CG.
Yeah, probably.
Still looks good though.
Mauler is an eldritch god. He's as tall as he wants to be when he wants to be.
Yep.
Yeah, it changes.
And so as Lex and the Predator are escaping, they get attacked by more xenomorphs, and she manages to blow one's brains out, which is pretty cool here. Lack of one-liners though, man. I really do think that we could have used some cool one-liners in this movie.
Well, that's the spear gun that they use to, like, stick into the wall too. Like, that could have easily. I mean, it would have.
I hated this bit though. They fucking nerfed the hell out of our Predator because he's doing so well, and so they were like, "Listen, a Predator can take out so many aliens with ease, as we've shown in this film. He can take out a Queen with ease too. A Queen is just big. It's not like she has shields or something. So what we'll do is we'll have a fucking alien jump on him, take away his plasma caster, and stab him so that he is now weakened and doesn't have his best weapon." It's just like, boo.
Yep. Yeah, man, they nerfed it to just make the aliens sort of try and win. I mean, you see, that's where I have the issue, where I feel like it could have been fixed with having the juxtaposition of 3 different fights in 3 locations where each person is in their element. Because you end up with stuff like this where it's like, yeah, this dude could have clearly taken her out, but they were forced to nerf her.
They fucked up. He didn't boss fight Net Alien.
Oh no, he didn't. Yep, that's true.
That's like the obvious payoff. That alien killed 2 of his brothers or whatever. Like that should have been an obvious
plus
thing.
they gave him a cool design, having him with the net scar and everything. It's the alien that's in the thumbnail.
That skin ends up in a lot of games, the Net Alien head, because it's a thing that people remember from this.
Because it looks cool.
Should have had a boss fight. Boo.
That should have been the final one. Yeah.
So if someone had said to me, like, we can't have him have the plasma caster, I'd be like, yes, you can. You have to. What do we say? It's about aliens being sneaky, aliens having the numbers. What you do is you have him detonate that whole place, but he doesn't get all of them, and he doesn't get the Queen. and so it's him and her versus Queen, and let's just say 6 aliens. That's easy to get him to use that plasma caster, but to also get it, he's gonna lose it somehow. You don't just have it be that they jump on and take it. You have him be that he gets to get a couple kills with them. One of them realizes that thing is the weapon, and then they like deliberately and carefully move around him and then take it off him, sort of
Or
thing.
even, I mean, do a thing that's never been done with it on screen. Have it run out of ammo. You can even do that. I mean, it's I'm sure that, like, even though it's a plasma caster, I'm sure that there's some sort of
there's going to be
internal
limitations.
power.
I always want to be careful whenever setting a limitation that wasn't present in like the original stuff. Instead, I would rather not answer the question and just have it be that he loses it somehow. Like I said, this was just arbitrary though. The fucking thing spawns a second, like a meter above him and just lands on him. It's like, oh,
yep,
that's happening, I guess.
Yeah, and so they're trying to escape because they planted the bomb, which is gonna fuck up everyone's day, which of course it does because, yep. So they explode everything, and everyone is supposed to be dead. And this is a shot that I never thought I'd imagine: the Predator riding with a woman out of a tunnel. It's so cartoonish.
On a sled.
This is what I mean, man. Like, this movie's got it's like a mixed bag of cool and really lame. Let's try it.
Yeah, just look at this scene when they're running side by side. They're basically like,
okay, there you could see she was about a foot and like almost 2 feet shorter than him. You can see it
even
there.
The run wouldn't be proportionate. He would be way faster than her. Like, they wouldn't be running side by side.
All you have to do is go look up the Swedish track runner that gets caught up by I think she's Dutch. She's about 5'2", and the Dutch chick is like 5'11" and catches up to her.
Look, she would die. Look, she would 100% die once she lands. This is
it's a Michael Bay explosion, according to Heathen Monk.
Oh yeah,
I like it. Stand a sleigh ride.
But yeah, just look at the CG like body double when she falls. Oh Lord.
You know what makes me think of something like this? Like, God, a movie where like a team of predators have to take out some huge creature would be so cool if it was done right. Don't need any dialogue. Do it all through action.
Well, that's what I was kind of suggesting, the thing with the uncatchable prey from the one game. That they could do something like that. Unfortunately, modern Hollywood, they want people to be able to say things to the audience and tell them every little detail that's required.
Oh, dude, it's everywhere. The problem that it's usually Fringy that ends up saying it on EFAB, but it's like why can we never have an alien protagonist or an alien team, or a lack of fucking humans constantly talking in sci-fi? It's just an insecurity on a lot of filmmakers. Like, what will the audience do? They can't understand what's happening if there's not a human saying, "Hello, my name is John."
Like imagine if WALL-E came out right now. Like, Hollywood their mind would be blown. They'd be like, how do these people understand this? There's like no dialogue in this. What's going on?
Well, it's weird because the Planet of the Apes franchise got big, and even then, I guess you could say the second movie, where it was more focused on Caesar and all the animals themselves instead of the human characters. Even there, they had minimal dialogue, but it managed to work. But that's the only case that I can think of where Hollywood sort of had confidence in letting you kind of live that experience, live that type of story. Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head where it actually works.
Well, maybe another time for that conversation. I guess there's going to be plenty. It's just hard to think about them. It's one of those.
It's one of those things you got to kind of prep for. You can't just come up with off the top of your head.
Yeah. But of course, we think the queen is dead, but it's an alien movie, so there's always going to be this weird sort of post-fight wrap-up. But yeah, just before the queen emerges, we get the predator face again, and I guess this is the close-up shot that we were talking about before.
Those eyes are all wrong.
Yeah, they just look like human eyes. They should be. Just looks.
Just look at the
looks
original.
Yeah.
They obviously moved away from it. They had their reasons. Those reasons were not good enough to do this.
Yep, for sure. And so he ends up kind of branding her with the xenomorph finger, with the acid blood. Just gives her a little mark, the one that he has on his forehead. He gives it to her on her cheek. But that is when the queen emerges, and man, the queen is pretty cool. Walking around in Antarctica, and it looks
awesome.
nice.
It's true.
Yeah, the CGI queen running around Antarctica is the highlight of the movie, in my opinion.
This is another like almost looks like it's just taken right out of Jurassic Park too. In that too as well. Like this just has this specific still you took has so much of the T-Rex in it.
T-Rex energy.
Well, no, I really like the blending of the physical and CG. Whenever it gets wounded, it's all just parts of it being torn off and the acid spraying everywhere. It's like, it's good shit.
Yeah, well, I do
But
have
the CG, as you said, it holds up. Like and there's combination shots of like its tail being in CG while it's practical. The creature itself. It's just a fun time to make movies.
Yeah, I mean, even just the still, it looks really good. Just looks fantastic. And you know what? Let me play the clip right now so that we can see how good it looks. Yeah, I mean, just the end where running through all the whale bones. It's like,
which they do set up for that earlier, where it's a very subtle setup, but they do ask her what they are, and they draw attention to the fact that they're there. So it's not, it doesn't. It's not a useless line. This is, in my opinion, one of the coolest cinematography things I've ever seen. I don't care what movie it's in. This is like,
you know what you're talking about. It's a cool shot.
Yeah, like I don't care what like you could. It could be surrounded by the rest of terrible. It's just I love this shot. The way that they did it is so cool.
Dropping in like a ninja from the sky. Yeah, it's great. And so yeah, so they managed to attach her to the I think it's like a water tank or gas or fuel tank or something. And
I think it's their it's where they would have stored like whale oil in the early like 1900s.
Oh, all right.
That's my guess because it's a whaling station, and that's usually the main thing you were getting from whales was the whale oil.
Yeah. So
could have been water; it would have froze. They can't do like really a water tanker there.
Well, maybe if it's frozen water, it would explain why, it goes down so quick. It's a huge block of ice pulling the queen down.
It's still made of metal.
So during that time, just as they're about to get the queen, just as they're about to kill the queen, she stabs our final predator. And R.I.P. to him, man. And then we
redo the same scene again.
Yep. Same thing.
Mask is off this time. And it's the queen alien this time. Different.
I'm gonna get you my little mouth.
Boom. This is the greatest crossover event in cinema history as of
this was the most ambitious crossover. I think that was.
And so they managed to get the tanks falling over with the queen attached to it, and she also falls. And man, I love how animalistic she looks. It's really good. Fantastic work, CGI and practical level. And now, of course, that's her going down and I guess, getting sunk into freezing, not to death, but freezing.
Eventually the pressure would just crush her.
That's true.
You would get so far down.
No, perfect organism.
Perfect organism. Can't be crushed.
And yeah, so Predator is dying and the entire clan arrives. Everyone arrives. Like there they are, the huge spaceships. Like nope.
I never noticed how many were lined up around the side.
There are a ton, dude. There's a ton of them.
I always noticed that there was ones in the doors. I never realized that they like extended out so far. Like, why did you bring so many? Why is there so few taking this test every 100 years? If this is how many you have.
I guess if they bring out so many people, it's because like the test is a huge celebration. So if you manage
There
to
is
pass the test, it's a huge
something of a.
celebration.
It would have been cool. You know when he did the shot that you said was the greatest shot in cinematic history. If he had done that, and then you just hear in the background, "Yes, that was so fucking cool! Yes, dude, he did the thing." They're all like super happy about it.
Yeah, he had an audience the entire time.
I'm not gonna lie. When I rewatched, so I hadn't watched this movie in I don't know how long. It was years. And when that scene came up, I remember like sitting, like just pulling myself just that extra couple inches closer to the screen. Like, this is when he jumps out of nowhere. I was like, this is the scene. Because I remember specifically in the theaters. And I'm usually one of those people who gets upset with like crowds when they start clapping at the end of a movie. I'm like, nobody's here. You're just clapping at a projector. What are you doing? And but like I remember like audibly like thinking that fucking jump with the stab to the side of the head was awesome. To this day, I'm still like, yeah, that's it. That's how I would want to kill him.
Dude, this is basically like the Predator's Goblet of Fire, man. They're just coming like Papa Diggory to come and collect the corpse. They're just like, my boy. So yeah, man. I don't know why they brought so many. My guess is because it's a celebration. So
these are the extended families of the other two that didn't make it. like they bought a lot of tickets for this graduation. Unfortunately, they're not going to make it.
And so just before leaving, they give her a present, kind of like what they did with. Is it Danny Glover? Yeah, it's Danny Glover.
Danny Glover in the second one. But they gave him like something that he could plausibly explain to people as to like I found this really old pistol. Like she's never gonna be able to show this to anybody.
It's like where the fuck did you get this?
I mean, I don't even know if she's gonna live.
Oh no, she's definitely dead after this because she has no way off this place. She's alone. She's literally alone.
Yeah, and she's wearing nothing but a tracksuit.
Yep.
In Antarctica.
Yeah, she's dead. Like,
could she go back to the ship or the ship people in the ship who doing ship things? I don't know. How did they arrive? Was it by like trucks or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. They drove out across the ice off of the boat because it was an icebreaker boat which could only get you so close to an island, and then you were supposed to take it. You basically drive over the ice the rest of the way.
I really hope that there's still people on the boat.
Yeah, they're just like, out there like, hey, we haven't heard shit for like the last 24 hours. What's going
on? But yeah, my guess is she 100% dies minutes after this from hypothermia. That is that is my headcanon. And then we have sequel bait.
Woo!
I don't even know what to think of this. It's just okay. I guess.
Yeah. I remember seeing this in theaters and thinking it was cool, but I was also, like I said, like 15. So, like,
Pred Alien, baby.
I was like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Little did I know. Little did 15-year-old dark half hour know that
it's the beautiful Paul W.S. Anderson cliffhanger. That's just what it is. It's kind of like every single Resident Evil movie ends with a cliffhanger, and then the next movie, the timeline makes absolutely zero sense in comparison.
It's like, yes, we've completely ignored the end of the previous movie. because we now because they've released other games since then, and we want to pillage shit from those. So
yep. It's like, yeah, fuck it. It's everything, and yeah, it's a bit of sequel bait, but it is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, and I do have just these, two little behind-the-scenes shots that I thought were cool. But yeah, that was Alien versus Predator.
There you go.
The behind-the-scenes shots are always cool. You find some good ones usually. We made it.
But yeah, man, like. Alien versus Predator is it's kind of like a cool stamp in history where you clearly know that it's from the early 2000s. You can clearly tell that was a time where they were sort of trying everything, especially with these franchises from the late 70s and 80s, where they were trying to revitalize them as they were on their sort of last legs at that point.
So this was like I
It's an
said
interesting
earlier.
time.
This was directly because of the success of Freddy vs. Jason that this happened. Like, there's no way you can tell me otherwise. And 'cause basically, I think that this was just one of those things people had wanted it since Predator 2, when you saw the xenomorph skull in the background. It was just finally. I wouldn't say that this was a like a cash grab. Like, that's not what I would say, because I think there was some want there. It wasn't like nobody had asked for this over the years. It just had been a while.
Yeah, there's like a hell of its own trying to get something like this on screen finally, and this was what we got. Which, you know what? I guess I'm happier we have it than not at all. I think.
I mean, this was our first attempt to kind of like do a movie that I wouldn't call objectively good. Like, it's, up to this point, we've always done like pretty classic good films. So I was like, once I've been meaning to dip the toe of, kind of the tear apart. So this was a good like tester for it.
Yeah, I think the closest we've gotten.
It had enough bad in it, but
yeah, I think the closest we got in maybe is something like Krampus.
Yeah, but that was like, but this
cool.
this had enough good and bad in it where we could kind of do both. So it was that made it fun. We did have a couple of leftover super chats. One was directed right to Mauler, so I'm gonna pull that one up.
All right,
from Norman Barud for $5. Mauler, would you go to a con if you had a proper mask and helmet?
I'd like to go to a con in general, but I think it would make the most sense to arrive and announce while wearing some kind of gas mask getup. Maybe I can get a custom one to look more like my avatar, but then to take it off. I wouldn't just have it on the whole time.
That would be pretty cool.
I would assume that after a while would get pretty uncomfortable.
Oh, trying to eat would be a problem.
So this was that too. He'd have to get now he has a specialized eating mask where one of the sides of the gas mask has an opening that he can feed food into. Heathen Monk has gifted 1 membership. Thank you, Heathen Monk. And I saved this one specifically because it kind of played into the question that I asked before, the if you could think of any 2 fictional characters, and there was thoughts on Aliens versus Avengers.
I didn't even know that existed.
I don't know if it. All right, did it happen recently? Because I know that there was like almost half the Justice League members have faced aliens. Let me see.
Alien versus Avengers. I don't even get like what is the power scaling on this?
So they usually dumb down the power.
Oh,
hello.
I think Dark Hour just dipped out. Yeah.
Well,
historically, when aliens.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Wait, what I do? Did I leave?
No, I mean your internet phased out, so like we just heard like 2 words and then.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I think my computer's bugging out. Hold on.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I think it was I don't know what happened there. My internet just must took a crap. But yeah, apparently Aliens versus Avengers just came out like a couple weeks ago. So I didn't even hear about it.
Yeah, I'd guess the Avengers would kind of smoke all the xenomorphs in a second. Just use Thor's electricity and it's pretty much done. I don't know.
But yeah, there was a cut. Did any of you guys think of your fictional character versus fictional character that you would want to see?
Oh. Well, I have highlighted some from the chat that I can show while.
Yeah, if you want to go through those, Ash versus Freddy versus Jason. I think that was originally in discussions.
That was I know. I think they did a comic of Ash versus Freddy versus Jason. I think they have a comic of it. But yeah, man, Ash versus anybody would
I feel like Ash is perfect with those 2 particularly. Like, there's lots you can work with.
Yeah, especially with Freddy. There's a ton you could work with Ash and Freddy. The banter that they could have. That'd be really cool. Galadriel versus acting classes.
Galadriel. By the way, that was so. I was never expecting Drinker randomly said that he stole something from me in one of his videos, in his most recent video, and I was like, at least he's finally admitting that shit. Because I haven't yanked my entire style from him to begin with, you know.
So we have Freddy, Jason, Alien, Predator, Michael Myers, and Leatherface can all fight in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that's true. I think it was Mortal Kombat X where they had all of these guys together. Yeah, the Xenomorph is pretty OP in Mortal Kombat. I do think Jason is the best because of his teleportation. It's really easy to control, and you can lock your enemy in a place and just absolutely kill him with the hitboxes. But enough Mortal Kombat discussion. What are your
So
what are
I would
your,
like,
what are your
I
fights?
personally would like to see a rated R Care Bears versus My Little Pony, like, you know, just going at it. I think that would be hilarious. Just pull on blood, just all of them taking each other out, but with like rainbows and happiness.
Oh man, that's actually a good one. I'm not too sure about me, man.
I mean, if you don't have one, it's not fine. It's fine. It's not it wasn't a big it was just a thing I kind of thought of. That...
I don't know. I feel compelled to say John Constantine versus somebody because I just like John Constantine, dude. I guess yeah,
John Constantine versus Ghost Rider, but
Ghost
they have to be
Rider.
played by Keanu Reeves and Nick Cage specifically.
Nick Cage.
They have to be those two.
Yeah, man, Constantine 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah, that's a movie I never thought we'd get.
Yeah, and Heathen Monk says Unicorn Wars. Yeah, Unicorn Wars is actually a pretty cool cartoon. R-rated, horrific children's animation. It's pretty cool.
Mauler, did you have one of?
I'm running through them in my head, and I'm thinking about it's almost always for me. I really want to see Predator against all kinds of different scenarios because I just find
Predator versus John.
Yeah,
McClane.
you can do it. Yeah, you can do whatever. You can just
sure,
be Predator versus whoever.
Well, Predator versus Wolverine, like.
Ooh.
Well, they're doing that. They did that in the comics recently, I think. So they're currently doing it. So
I find the difference between those two to be quite interesting in terms of like who has the upper hand exactly, and I think you could make a lot of cool things out of it. I know that there's like Predator versus Batman.
They did Batman versus Aliens as well.
Batman versus Aliens.
Hey, Green Lantern versus Aliens. I have all 4 issues of that signed, which is pretty cool.
I mean, that is okay, but Batman versus Aliens, that would just be like, man.
While that's going on, I also have the results of the poll. It was 57% for Predator, 42% for Alien out of 187 votes, which, if you go according to the numbers I'm looking at, only represents about 0.01% of the people, because there is bots just attacking my my Twitter stream. It says that there is 25,761 people watching this right now on X. So I don't think that that's true.
We've got Ash versus Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. You know, Ash versus the classic Universal monsters could be a good TV show. A nice little Saturday morning cartoon. I would watch that.
Here was one from Richard, our friend Richard. 2 fictional characters, Lucas Blood from Banshee versus the Punisher.
Ooh. Yeah, Banshee is a pretty good show.
Punisher versus Jigglypuff. Just to see if
wait, who was the first one?
Punisher
versus Jigglypuff. I like it. I love it. And I know you, Mauler, you said earlier you were interested in possibly doing a quick ranking. So AvP this one's also from Richard. I say AvP, great third best Alien film, almost second best Predator film. So,
wait, so are you ranking Alien, Predator, or both?
I guess both.
We can rank both. So
yeah, why not? We'll do it all
first, and then Predator.
Okay.
I thought. Well, you don't want to like mix the two though, is what you're saying. You don't want to like be like, okay, this one.
You know what? I would, if not for the fact that I'm gonna start fucking forgetting. Like,
yeah. So let's just do the Alien ones and the AvPs where they land.
All right. So for me, Aliens is number 1. Quickly followed by a hair by Alien because
Agreed
those
so
two
far.
are the goats, of course. Then we're already into controversial territory, no matter what I say. So I'll go with, for me personally, especially after having rewatched a lot of stuff recently, Alien 3 is number 3 for me. Then it's AvP.
So far, that's exactly my count. So
then, oh shit, I think it might be Resurrection.
probably, yeah. I think Resurrection's better than Prometheus and Covenant. That's where I can't figure out which one. Those are just both.
I'd have gone for Covenant, man. I'd have gone for Covenant at that point.
I hate Covenant. I don't hate Resurrection. That film is goofy as fuck. It's crazy. So yeah, then next up would probably be it's Romulus, Covenant, and Predator. Prometheus, Covenant, and Romulus. I got to decide out of those three how to rank them. And
also don't forget
Requiem.
Yeah. Oh, that one I almost secured it at the bottom, but then again, I'm rethinking it. It's like maybe I need to rewatch it to decide. Because I haven't seen that in forever.
We can always make that happen here on Two Hoes.
Well, it was produced by the same people that made Alien versus Predator, so it's the same producers. Maybe there's something. I remember the movie just being dark as hell.
It's dark
so
as hell.
I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna say Romulus is probably next, then probably Requiem, then Prometheus, then Covenant. That's what I would say, because I think Prometheus, and I mean you're splitting hairs on the worst of the worst two at that point. I think Prometheus has at least some watchability from the fact that you can laugh your ass off at the dumbass decisions that people make, whereas Covenant was just boring as hell. So like that's where I would draw the difference there. I laughed at Prometheus. Covenant, I was just like,
Yeah, I mean you're right. It's a bit of a toss up in terms of everyone.
Romulus
I think you guys. It will not. Romulus only got worse the more I thought about it.
Yeah, Romulus to me is like the last because it just annoys me whenever I think about it.
Yeah. I have a bit of hatred for Romulus too. It's so like the meme with Steve Buscemi where he's wearing a shirt that says music band. It's like Alien Romulus walks up and puts his arms around Alien and Aliens like, hey guys. And it's like you're not stop it. And it's like I love horror film about aliens,
fellow alien movies.
Yeah, it's like you're not. Stop it, get out. That film is one of the, if not the best example of all time of just completely lacking an identity.
Yep.
It's so sad how it desperately claws at being all of its bigger brothers.
Okay, so anybody disagree with that list?
Requiem is better than AvP. Interesting.
Well, I guess we should do the Predator movies and then give our final thoughts. So, you want to do it
have
again?
A huge disagreement on what number one is. Everyone will have a different answer for that, of course. Controversially, no one can agree on the best Predator movie, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think the original is the best one. Crazy, I know. I'm a bit of a maverick.
Okay.
Then
I always say Predator 2 is one of the most underrated films there is.
That's fair. Well, it would be next up for me because I'm just clarifying, right? I may as well just say the list as I believe it to be. So Predator 1, Predator 2, Predators / Prey.
Yeah, they're about on equal terms. They're almost like 3A. And
I do Predators before Prey. I'd rank Predators higher than Prey, but just a bit.
I remember Predators pissing me off because of how the premise was fantastic, and then they ruined it with a whole bunch of people being retarded. There's a lot of people being retarded in that film.
Oh yeah.
There's a decent bit of that in Prey as well, though. That's why I can buy them being similar. But yes, the Predator squarely at the bottom.
Yeah, and then obviously the AvP movies would be, I guess, between Predators and Prey and the the Predator.
I'll put AvP before the Predator.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I would say that it's probably AvP is probably relatively on par with Prey and
perhaps the ultimate question. We can do both versions of this, but first, what is the worst of all Alien Predator movies?
Probably the Predator. I think that's probably the worst.
Yeah.
That does a huge amount of damage to the actual story.
It's just a horribly bad script as well. Like
there was like a couple of good scenes in the very beginning before they decided to kill off the
script
Predator.
itself had barely any redeeming qualities, but that's the worst part.
And then the other ultimate question out of all of them, what is the best?
Oh, that's hard.
I think honestly, I think it's either between Aliens and Predator.
It is. It's just a matter of which one. I prefer Predator. I think it's a damn near perfect movie in terms of pacing, in terms of what they do with it, in terms of the casting. Aliens, I love to death, but I just think it's just edged out slightly by Predator. Just like, you can't go wrong either way though.
I adore Aliens and Predator. It would be between those three, and it's just for me, it's just on a personal level. Aliens wins. I've been watching Aliens a billion times my whole life. I can't stop watching it. It's amazing.
I don't think there's really a wrong answer to that. If somebody came in here and said, "Hey, do you want to watch Predator?" I'd be like, "Yes." If someone was like, "You want to watch Aliens?" I'd be like, "Yes." If like they were like, "Do you want to watch either? Which one do you want to watch?" I'd be like, "Can we watch both?" Like it wouldn't be like there's just no wrong answer there.
Yeah, to me, it's Predator number 1, and then Aliens is a close second. Then it's Alien.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like literally 1A and 1B. Like, there's just no like Alien is number 2, and it's not by much. It's, but yeah, I mean, I guess we should give our final thoughts and then close out here because I don't think we have any more super chats or anything. So Mauler, do you have any final thoughts about the movie?
I like AvP, but it's bad. I think it's such a little gooba movie that could. It's like, oh, here it is, and it kind of feels like exactly what you may have expected if you knew all of the components going in and the time it was made. But it has a couple of surprises throughout. I think we highlighted a whole bunch of them of just, oh wow, that's kind of neat, and so is that, and so is that, and then it doesn't do anything, I think, as big as uprooting and destroying or pissing on everything so much that it would like make you so angry you'd never want to think about the movie again, especially how people sort of square it off as a fun Elseworlds type of thing. It's just like this exploration into, hey, what if this happened? A lot of people saying like popcorn movie, fun for the sake of fun sort of stuff, but I still think there are some things in this that structurally are actually like not too bad, and that even with the people who are making it as is, if you had maybe someone in there to help direct them a little bit better to like we were talking about with some of those characters, get the payoff for the 2 guys before they die, get Wayland a better start, middle, end, get something for Sebastian that's more than just I'm an archaeologist who then does exposition and then dies. It's like, we could just spruce up all the character stuff. I think the film could have hit harder and been better remembered.
Do you think it comes down to a runtime issue, or do you think that it could have been like with a proper writer? Do you think it could have been accomplished in the same amount of runtime, or do you think it should have?
Yeah, I think so. We would obviously need to just move some stuff around, tighten things up, get things done faster, start to consolidate. Like anything that's, say we have 3 scenes where one thing is achieved per, it's like we need to get all these 3 achieved in one instead, so we can move space around and get more opportunities.
I do think that a better writer also wouldn't have had as many characters that were so one note. They would have trimmed it down a lot. The security guard,
insane.
They wouldn't. Yeah,
is that you're right with everything you're saying about it, and then you'd be like, so how's it even scoring like a 4 then in terms of, and it's just like, because look at Prometheus, it's the direct connection of that's how you do it even worse. The characters are not just not characterized. The ones in Prometheus are barely characterized, but of what we get of them, they completely contradict in terms of like the only thing they actually decide to do in the film. And that happens over and over and over again. It's kind of remarkable. It's like, oh wow, the person who would least be likely to do the thing did the thing. And it's like,
like the geologist gets lost in the cave. The biologist touches the snake. Like it's
it's so and I just don't get that experience with AvP. I'm like, okay, you have your fun, all right. That was
but kind of just the pass.
Uninspired, I guess. I mean, I mostly agree with almost everything Mauler said, so mine's going to be pretty brief. If you have anything different,
not really. I just think that it's a great example of like, you know what you are, but you still manage to make it work, and it remains enjoyable even after all these years. It clearly is a product of its time, but it's a product of its time in a good way. Sort of like the I guess you could say the 2004 Fantastic Four movie. You can clearly tell that it's a product of its time, but that's what makes it enjoyable today. It adds to its charm. But yeah, I think it's worthwhile. It's a fun movie, and I genuinely rewatch this any day of the week.
The thing it does well is that it doesn't, it's not a huge time sink. You could watch this and it's pretty much done by the time you
Yeah,
want it to
because
be.
it's about what, like an hour 48, but it's kind
Yeah,
of
it's not even 2
an hour
hours.
30. Yeah.
Theoretically, you could skip the beginning. You could just be like, okay, they're all on their way. That's fine. You just skip right to that. It's like
You could. I mean, that's what Prometheus fucking did.
like there's not really, that's the one thing is that I will say about this is it didn't, for all the bad things, it doesn't hold, like they go by quick. It's like, okay, let's just keep going. Just keep going. Manufacture right down the line here. And I still enjoy it as kind of a guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah.
Obviously anything you see when you're younger, you're usually able to almost turn off that part of your brain and almost put on like the rose-colored glasses. And this is one that I'm able to do that with. So that's really the only thing I have to say in addition to what you guys said. But yeah,
I would like to see more Predator movies like this, or like more movies in general like this, where we go back to the you kind of take it seriously, but at the same time you don't too much. Except that I would just prefer better writing. Although I would love to have movies like this again, because this is the only type of movies that we have like this are from the MonsterVerse, where they're a bit stupid, but they know what they are. But I guess now they're kind of teetering on the being a bit too stupid, sadly. But yeah,
big monster punchy.
it should kind of be. They should. Hey, listen, Uninspired talks about Pacific Rim again. What a surprise! Just take example of Pacific Rim, man.
Well, don't worry, we'll do Pacific Rim one day.
Dude, I'm telling you, Pacific Rim is going to be like a 10-hour stream.
I will be there for approximately 3 hours of that. That's about what I'm going to give you.
Well, I guess it is time to... Wait, drum roll, please. It is time to plug your shit. All right, Mauler, this is the section of the stream where you're going to plug your shit. You just have to let the people know what you're doing, what you've done, or what you're going to do, and where they can find you.
I'm on
everywhere.
My channel called Mauler, and the latest thing would be, I guess, doing Rings of Power. We've been suffering through that. We did a 9-hour stream for episode 1 and 2, and we just did another 9-hour for 3 and 4. As you guys would have noticed from a podcast such as this, sometimes you can just go and go and go and go.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, we were faster with a movie than we managed to be on EFAP with just an episode of TV. But that's how bad Rings of Power is. You just got to understand these things. It's a complicated situation. It's horrifying. But yeah, there's all of that. And then there's me. I think I'm planning to try and stream the rest of Astrobot at some point. And then Halloween's coming up.
Yeah.
Which is the month of October, Spooky Ween. EFAP's got all kinds of plans that I can't wait to share with you. I've made mention of I'm working on projects, but I can't say anything yet because I can't know for sure that they're all going to work out. So what you will be getting, of course, is a new Halloween arc where we go through 9 horror films. The trailer for that will come out, I guess, a week before the 1st. So the 24th-ish, something like that. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Also, thank you both for having me on. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for being on.
It's our pleasure, man.
It was an honor to have you on. This is
yeah, dude.
So, like I said earlier, your channel, your show really inspired a lot of things that I would go on to do. Both you and Drinker have been big inspirations. So to have both of you on and, stream with you guys as often as I do is just awesome. It's like there's no other word to sum it up than awesome.
And it's an absolute pleasure, because a ton of my personal YouTube videos, the way that I styled them was kind of based on shorter versions of what you do, and it's a pleasure to stream with you. It's a pleasure to have you on our show and to talk about something like Alien versus Predator, where we could just have fun with it and just talk about franchises and movies that we love in general. It's genuinely a pleasure.
It's exactly what Two Hoes was designed to be, was to bring friends around and talk some crazy shit about movies.
Becomes 3 Hoes.
3 Hoes.
Oh, yeah.
Uninspired. What do you got going on? You still toiling away, or?
Actually, yeah, I've kind of just been waiting for Alien Romulus to come out on digital. I have my script written. It's just that I want to actually take scenes of the movie to put in my review. Well, not even a review, an analysis, because
at this point you're beyond review. It's now you have to
yeah,
do an analysis.
because it's kind of really pissed me the fuck off, the movie, and I didn't have time to stream about it or anything, so I'm just waiting for it to hit digital, like for a good copy to hit digital. Other than that, I saw the Wolfman trailer. I know some people were asking me about that. I like it. It's Leigh Whannell. He did The Invisible Man. He's done a ton of other cool stuff. I have hope. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh boy video is still coming soon, and I'm also working on a video on damn, I forgot the name of the movie.
Well, that's gonna be a great video. You're gonna be like, hey, this movie I watched, I'm really not sure what it's called, but I want to recommend it or tell you to avoid it.
But you'll see it. It's a quite an unknown movie that I think deserves some love. So yeah, it'll be something that you should watch out for. Dark Arrow, what about you, man?
As for me, I have 2 more videos coming out for Rings of Power, pushing toward my 10,000 subscribers mark. I'm about 400 off of that, so I'm really excited for that. 2 Hoes, we're going to be debuting another new time slot next time in 2 weeks from now, our morning show, which is going to cover cartoons. We're doing Ghost in the Shell, which will be fun.
Nice.
I'm going to have a lot of people debuting on that one, people that haven't been able to be on the show before because of time restraints.
Yeah.
And you know, just and also I'll be on B-Sup every week now because I'm the producer there. And yeah, so you can the world's a changing for me. This is slowly becoming the thing I do for real. Okay. Oh, we have one more one popped up super chat we'll do right before we close out. These are in, I don't know.
Merci, diolch, gracias, and that's the one I don't
know.
Duck.
That's duck.
Duck.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, duck. That's like Polish.
Oh,
fair enough.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I love you too, Heathen Monk. Thank you.
For $2. Thank you. And with that said, I think it's time that we go find the thing in the brand. That way I can actually do it. And, normally I have it like highlighted already, but because there was another one. But thank you all and have a good night.
All right. See ya.
Bye.